Good morning, traders. I hope you guys are ready to get right after this market. It seems we've had some great earnings reports, some bad ones, some stocks actually going down on good reports. Will we find the dip today? Is the correction done in the market? Find out right here on Live Trading with Benzinga. You know I'm ready. Let's get after it. They don't call me Money Mitch for no reason, and I'm hungry. Let's get after it. Chicken dinners. I want them. Where's those winners? Do you guys have a winner? Throw it up in the chat. Let's talk about it.
Winner, chicken dinner. Those words have been dancing around my head all night. Oh, it's Vegas lore, that phrase.
All right, traders, we're going to get here towards the day trading action. Stay tuned, guys. I'm excited to get to the action. And you guys don't go anywhere. There's a lot for you guys today. We have a special show for you guys. If we can just keep getting some lovely likes, we will keep going all the way to 11:30, guys, as we keep going all day until our sports betting special that comes on after you guys. So smash the like out there if you guys are as excited as we are to stay with us all the way until 11:30 today. And so what does that mean for me? Oh, that means I'm ready to do some trading action. And of course, we got our boy in the back here, Nick Brown, with me, and we will cover some news. We will take a look at some market action, and we'll see. Do I go short? Do I go long? Secret treasures? What area are you talking about? Because that's one thing that I'm able to do now a lot more of is adjust, right? When I think the market's going down, where do I want to be? On certain sectors that are kind of uncorrelated with the market, right? Sometimes that can be energy. So sometimes energy, when oil goes up, the market comes down, and things like this. This is where we want to understand what the word is, of course, correlation. Correlation is so important in understanding when do I go after stocks that are uncorrelated to the market and actually correlated with the market. These are all things that you can definitely jump on to learn, to have an edge. That's what I try to do in this market rotation. And I'll talk a little bit about that coming up right now. Let's get to the action here. I'm going to show you guys the chart. Shop is going to be definitely on my eyes, but I needed to come back down to 57. Come to the support where I can start risking off of maybe either the gap spot or get to that gap spot. Right now is not the move for me on Shop. I'm still looking for a little bit more pullback in that stock. If I take a look at the stocks that I have right now, I have 4 on. I had 3 yesterday. New position, Chevron. This is one that I opened up just yesterday. Why? Because XOM. I talked about how I wanted it to hold 104.50s. And now what are we doing? We're driving away from that 104.50s and actually starting to squeeze some of this bears that were in XOM. If we can get to 110, I think we squeeze out all those bears, and we're making our move here towards this kind of 111, 110 area. We'll see if we can get above 108. I think that's very important today. I did see WTI up there towards above 82. That's a big outlook to look for. If we go to 84 or 85, that is definitely going to give this stocks a lift. Also going to start affecting inflation outlooks looking forward because energy prices starting to rocket back up. That's going to actually raise inflation. So watch out there, team, as we could see continued downside. Of course, XOM is one I have. HUM is one that I was able to take some profits yesterday. We'll look to see if this continues through the 490 spot, making its way up there into 495s. Up there close to the 500 spot is my top target outlook. Do I have to take 500? No, I'd be happy with like 497 or 498. Of course, I got this at 481. We'll see what happens here on Humana if it can keep moving. Last one I did is a short on Carnival Cruise Lines. It is coming back already a little bit, so I got to keep this one on watch. We'll see if it gets back above the 18. That's really where my risk is. I got in this one at 1782. Going to look for this one to keep going down today and crack through the 1730s, start working its way back down to 17. We'll see what happens there on Carnival Cruise Line. But I'm just like you guys in the chat there. I said it real quickly right off the hop. I said,
the fuck is that guy?
Who is that guy looking good in a suit? I'm with Jane here. You're looking good, Nick. What's going on, man? Looking sharp. Everyone's giving you some good outlook here. How we doing today this morning, Nick?
We're doing very well. The reason why I'm in a suit is because coming up at 11 o'clock, as you guys probably heard, that we have a special show today. The former vice president of Fundstrat and now an independent financial writer, Christopher Robb, will be joining us at 11 a.m. to talk the Fitch downgrade, earnings on Apple and Amazon, the latest B of A note saying they're throwing out a recession. They see a soft landing. Got so much to talk about at 11 a.m. with him. He'll be joining us. And in the meantime, we have so much to get to, Mitch. And as you said, earnings. What happened last night? These are some pretty decent reports, and we have Apple and Amazon going two different ways.
Yeah. And I think there was someone that was maybe talking about that right here, but we won't get into all that action. Let's talk actually the action that we see on the charts. And it looks like we got that, right? We have Apple coming down here, and we have Amazon going up. Why could this have been? And what showed up in the earnings that kind of gave us a little bit of an outlook on this, Nick? I'll go to you in just a second on that. I'm going to let you talk about these stocks. If you want, you can share your charts so that you can keep it moving here. We'll get into that action. And of course, if you guys have any stock that you guys want to check out, throw it up in the chat. That's what it's all about. No job interview. Nick isn't going to Goldman Sachs anytime soon, even though they don't want him. He's staying with us right now, guys, and he's going back to school enough. So you guys definitely give him a good love. We'll let him take over here. I'm going to put up his charts so he can talk about this, and I'll put him up here on the corner here so you guys can check him out. Go ahead, Nick. Let us know about the news and keep us flowing.
All righty, we're going to start off with Apple right now. EPS came in at $1.26 versus the $1.19 estimated. Revenue $81.8 billion versus the $81.69 billion estimated. That's down 1% year over year, and we're going to get to that in just a minute because that's an important level on why the stock is falling here. iPhone revenue $39.67 billion. That's versus the $39.91 billion estimated, down 2% year over year. Mac revenue $6.84 billion versus $6.62 billion estimated, down 7% year over year. iPad revenue $5.79 billion versus the $6.41 billion estimated. That's down 20% year over year. Other products revenue $8.28 billion versus the $8.39 billion estimated. That's up 2% year over year. Services revenue $21.21 billion versus the $20.76 billion estimated, up 8% year over year. Gross margin 44.5% versus the 44.2% estimated. Services revenue reaches a new all-time high. They installed a base of active devices set all-time record. Why is the stock falling? Yes, I have notes from the call. We're going to get to that here in just a minute. But first, I do want to say that iPhone revenue makes up almost half, if not half, of their business for their revenue. And that actually came in just a tad bit below expectations. Also, what else fell below expectations? iPad revenue was a miss. Other products revenue was a miss. And so that is one reason why the stock is falling. Now, CEO Tim Cook, in an interview, he said, quote, the company has been researching generative artificial intelligence for years. He also said that last night on the conference call. He also said work on generative AI is among drivers of increased research and development spending. He also said continuing to invest in technology such as generative AI to improve its products. Now, here's the notes from the call. Apple didn't provide any official guidance for Q4. It hasn't provided official guidance since 2020, citing uncertainty. Now, CFO Luca Maestra said the company expected revenue to decline in the September quarter. That is important because that is one reason why the stock is falling. And analysts were projecting fourth quarter revenue for the company at $90.19 billion. The CFO says Apple would report about $89.25 billion. And so that is another reason why the stock is falling after, or now pre-market, I should say, just because iPhone revenue was a miss and the Q4 sales did come in a bit below expectations. Now, the CFO also said on the call, iPhone reached an all-time revenue record in India. iPad, Mac revenue to decline double digits in Q4. Q4 year-over-year performance to be similar to Q3, and they expect gross margin to be between 44% and 45% for the September quarter. Now, everybody's probably wondering how many times AI was said on the call. Per my count and other counts that I have seen, Evan with Stock Market News on Twitter, we've counted 4 times they said AI. Cook in that interview said AI 3 times. So in total, if you counted the call and the interview, and the call does include the Q&A, that would count 7 times. But just for purposes on a tweet I'll be putting out over the weekend on how many times AI was said on the call, that was said 4 times. Let's turn to Amazon now, because that stock is going the opposite way. Amazon shares are higher by around 6% pre-market after they reported better than expected earnings. 65 cents was the EPS. Estimate was for 35 cents, so almost double right there. Net sales, 134.4 billion. Estimate was for 131.5 billion, so there was a beat there. AWS net sales, 22.1 billion. The estimate was for 21.8 billion. That was better than expected. Advertising, better than expected, 10.7 billion. Estimate was for 10.4 billion. Operating income, 7.68 billion. Estimate was for 4.72 billion. They did give some guidance for Q3. They see Q3 net sales 138 billion to 143 billion. The estimate was for 138.3 billion, and they see Q3 operating income 5.5 billion to 8.5 billion. The estimate was for 5.41 billion. Now, Amazon CEO Andy Jassy on the call last night said they are working to grow business-to-business commerce to 100 billion in yearly gross sales from 35 billion today. And CapEx forecast includes significant amount in cloud for generative AI and large language models. Now, AI was said on that call roughly, hold on guys, 1 second. I do have the count there. Amazon said AI 35 times on the call. So up from Apple. But how does that compare to Google, Meta, and Microsoft? Well, here's some numbers regarding how many times Google said AI. They said AI 80 times on the call. Meta said it 59 times. Microsoft said it 65 times. And Apple has said it 4 times. And Amazon said it 35 times this quarter. So you can see who is the AI outperformer there. It would be Google, almost nearly 100 times. Let's keep it moving. We have tons more earnings to get to, Mitch. We have Airbnb, I should say. Put that chart up. So many earnings last night that I'm trying to keep track here. But Airbnb, also known as Airbnb, EPS came in at 98 cents. We are not comparing those to estimates. Revenue, 2.48 billion. The estimate was for 2.42 billion. Gross booking value, 19.1 billion. Estimate was for 18.8 billion. Nights and experience booked 115 million. Estimate was for 117.8 million, so slightly below there. Adjusted EBITDA, 819 million. Estimate was for 725.7 million. And they see Q3 revenue 3.3 billion to 3.4 billion. Estimate was for 3.22 billion. Someone, Paul C in the chat, Mitch, says, after hours was wild. And I can tell you, yes, because we had Coinbase, DraftKings, and we're going to get to all those. Moving right along, we have Coinbase. Those shares, I have no clue what those shares are doing. Oh, those shares are lower. Those shares are lower by about 6%. EPS at a loss came in at 42 cents, way better than expectations of 78 cents. Sales came in at 707.91 million. Estimate was for 643.36 million. Transaction revenue, 327.1 million. Estimates for 284.7 million. And they see Q3 subscription and services revenue as at least 300 million. We had Block, formerly known as Square, report earnings last night, and those shares are also getting hammered after hours. Those are down about 12% pre-market. Those reported earnings of adjusted EPS 39 cents. Estimate was for 34 cents. Net revenue 5.53 billion. Estimate was for 5.12 billion. Transaction-based revenue 1.64 billion. The estimate was for 1.65 billion. Hardware revenue, 45 million. Estimates for 48.1 million. They see full year adjusted EBITDA, 1.5 billion. Saw 1.36 billion. They now see with the estimate 1.38 billion. And they see full year adjusted operating income, 25 million. Better than expectations of they used to see of a loss of 115 million. And to end it off, we have DraftKings, and those shares are higher pre-market by around 12%. EPS loss came in at 17 cents. We're not comparing those to estimates. Shares are up about 4% right now pre-market. Revenue came in at 875 million. Estimates were 757.7 million. Monthly unique players, 2.1 million. Estimates were 2.07 million. They raised the 2023 revenue guidance midpoint. They see full year revenue 3.46 billion to 3.54 billion. They previously saw 3.14 billion to 3.24 billion. I'm going to stop the screen sharing just because we had the non-farm payrolls report, and I know you guys covered that on pre-market prep. I wasn't able to hear the discussion as I was trying to prep for this show, but just if you did miss the non-farm payrolls number, July non-firm payrolls came in at 187,000, below consensus of 200,000. That is the lowest number since December of 2020. Unemployment rate fell to 3.5%. Estimates for 3.6%. Average hourly earnings up 0.4% or 14 cents to $33.74 over year, plus 4.36%. Average work week down 0.1 of an hour to 34.3 hours. July labor force participation rate 62.6%. And it is important to note there were some revisions trickling in. The June payrolls was revised to plus 185,000, and May was revised to 281,000. Futures, when they the futures market major averages, when those numbers came out, really didn't budge. We are getting some reaction from the street, Mitch, going through those notes. Basically, everybody is calling us a Goldilocks. So we're going to see what happens today. But it's 8:30, or it was 8:30. We got that data, and so now the weekend is here. So you guys can all go out, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's always 5 o'clock, but guess what? 5 o'clock's a little later today. I'm ready for the money. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know about you guys, but welcome to the party.
Welcome to the party.
Oh, I'm here to make the money. Let's get it. You guys know I just even put on my Tua jersey because I'm ready for the sports betting conversation we'll have a little bit later today. You guys know it. Dolphins going big this year. I don't know about that. To the Super Bowl we go.
Didn't you say that last year?
No, I didn't say that last year. I said they'd make it to the playoffs, and they did.
There you go. You're 0 for 1 there, 0 for 2.
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good on that, man. I did call the Rams when they won. Last year, I didn't really make a call, so I got to make a call again this year.
So, Mitch, if you had to pick between Apple and Amazon, who would you pick?
Well, you heard it yesterday, right? I picked Amazon. If you guys were watching the start swing trade, and guess what happened? I didn't do too bad, but guess what? I can't take earnings plays because if I would have took that one, then I probably would have ruined it for everyone there. But somehow Amazon would have gone down. We'll see what happens. And Tua, yeah, he needs to stay healthy. I saw him gain like 30 or 40 pounds. We don't know if that's muscle or not, but he put some weight on. He's ready to take the hits this year. Shop looks good too, right out the gates. I saw that get a little hop there towards 61. I think people are trying to play this on a bounce right now. Of course, with Amazon going higher, that will help it. But Amazon went up to 142 and quickly came right back down here. So I'm just keeping an eye on the cues today. What are we going to do? Are we going to chop around? I feel like that's what we might do here. We're right by the hourly resistance too. So I watched that. You can see it here. We're kind of in this kind of sideways triangle period between 376 and this lower around the 373. So I want to see if we can get out of this rectangle pattern, right? If we could get out of that rectangle pattern, I can just be what? I can just be nimble, trade wherever the hell this goes, right? Versus trying to be like, okay, I need to trade within this. No, I want to trade actually when the cues get outside of this pattern, right? And so I'm watching to see if it's a breakout to the upside or if it's a breakout to the downside. Whichever way, I can trade it. Let's just find out, right? And what's leading right off the hop? You see communication services and energy. I'm happy to see energy leading as I start to see Chevron already getting a little bit of a pop here. There's 161.50s, looking for a move to 163 on this one. Would like to see it hold the VWAP on pullback now, do kind of like the VWAP bounce type of play where it comes back towards 160.70s, 160.60s, breaks through that 161.50s, but it's actually looking pretty decent right now. Humana in the green here, so I'm going to keep an eye out on if it's going to stay green from the open. We'll see what happens on that one. CCL coming straight down. That looks good for my short. I'm looking great on that CCL trade. I could even look for maybe shorting RCL or NCLH if I want to double dip in the sector or in the industry. And you guys see NCLH. Eventually, I want to buy this one when it comes back down towards let's say 15 to 14. But I sold this at 17. I definitely don't want to buy it until I get back towards my levels. All right. I see you guys talking about TUP. Earnings is about 2 weeks late. Yeah, I think this TUP, I think it could still maybe go one more up time. So I'm not shorting it, but at the same time, I'm not longing it either, guys. We'll see what happens there. Just keeping an eye on the swing action and seeing what's going on out there. Basic materials up a significant amount today. Let's see what's leading there. Silver agricultural inputs with a nice little lift today. You guys can keep an eye on MOS. This has been starting to work its way back. Has some resistance around 40.80s. Now starting to push there through the 41s. We'll see if it takes out the 41.78 on the high end. CF is another one that I'd watch in that space. And then CTVA is doing a pretty good move right now in that agricultural input. Lumber and wood production, that's up, but that's just showing me that basic materials overall up today. We'll see if coal gets a little bit higher. Does industrial metals and minerals bounce back? They've been on the pullback. Stocks like maybe CCJ on radar for a move above 34. We'll see if it gets that move up and starts to push on this kind of like, well, hourly trend here. So you can see how this could push right back up here towards the 35s. It might be just a wick attempt right now. We'll see if it actually breaks through that 34 today. CCJ not looking too bad. I actually traded CCJ last time in the Moomoo account and it did pretty well. So I might actually take a trade on CCJ today. I'm just trying to be a little bit patient here, but it is right now off the VWAP. I'm going to look for maybe a pullback to 33.70s here and then the takeoff through the 33.95s. So attempt to come down towards this 33.65, reject, and then go right back up. Let me see if I can get it here really quickly, guys. I got to be quick. See about 69, 68 on the pullback. Then I could take the shot right off this kind of 55 outlook right underneath. Doesn't look too bad on the daily too. It's like kind of pulling back to the 9 EMA. Could lift right back up into this space, 34.50s today. Seems to make sense. So we're almost like looking like for like a +1 outlook there. There's the 68s and 66 here. I want to take the shot. I have the shot right now. I do see about 1,100 shares on the 64s. So I'm looking for that to see maybe if the 64s get hit and it goes to like 65s, and then I can get in at 65s. It's already up there back to the 69s. So this is my shot if I want to take it, but still early in the market day. Qs are going higher though. That makes me a little bit more confident. All right, I'm taking the shot there. I just got in there at the 64s. So I took a little bit there on the CCJ at the 64s. I'm going to look to see if it comes right back up here. I'm going to risk off of like maybe like the 50s right now. All right, so I just got that Moomoo trade on there. So now I just go ahead and can set the stop here and make sure that if I need to get out, I will. All right, stop set there for 33.48s. We'll see what happens on CCJ today, taking a little bit of a shot there. What's going on, Raz? Hola, ¿cómo estamos out there? For all my Spanish speakers. Let's get after it today. And I'm going to catch up with you guys too in the chat. So you guys keep dropping those. I see EVGO mentioned in the chat. That's an interesting one. Nice little lift there from the 562s. Is EVGO going? What about ChargePoint? Maybe see that one gets the lift today. That one's pulling back right now towards this kind of VWAP pullback. We'll see if it gets the lift here and makes an upside move. Energy now going a little bit on the pullback, but look at XOM in the 108s. That makes me feel confident. What does that mean? Stair stepping higher. That's what I want to see in oil work. I've been going after it, guys, and it's looking good, man. Now, I could tell you guys right now, that one's looking pretty good for me. I'm feeling pretty confident on, of course, the oil plays out there. So let's get it. I'm hungry.
Mitch, it's interesting that because the jobs report came in lighter than expected, 187,000 jobs, yields are still spiking a little bit today.
PLT is actually getting a little spike there, so that might see a little bit of a turnaround there. We'll see.
I know we are down for the week for the markets. SPY and NASDAQ and S&P are all down week to date, given some hard selling with the Fitch downgrade and yield spiking. But it's going to be very interesting to see how that shapes up in the next few weeks. Don't forget, we do have Jackson Hole this month, we're going to see what the Fed thinks and what Powell thinks on this latest jobs report. But we still do get another CPI. I think we get CPI next week. I think we have another jobs report before the Fed meeting in September. I think we get another CPI report before the Fed before the Fed meets in September. So there's still a lot of economic data to come our way before a September decision is made from the Fed.
Well, guys, I just tell you like this.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
CCJ already out, man. That thing just hit like a rock. It pulled back real quick there to the 48s. It might have gotten stop hunted, whatever it is. I'll tell you one thing. I'll get out there. I'll take the $3 loss there on the small account challenge and just keep moving forward, right? That's what it's all about, keeping them at the nice risk to reward so that I could keep going, and not even phase it. Just keep trading, Now, I don't have any day trades left in that account, so I'll be more using my swing trade account here to try to get some new trades on. So I'm just looking around here, really trying to read the industries and the sectors. As you guys know, that's always usually my outlook of trying to be on top of things. Utilities are coming back today. Healthcare and technology actually starting to get into the green today. So, of course, watch for the hit stock, Apple. Apple got hit. It's coming back today. We'll see if it's holding VWAP pullbacks now on the 5-minute. That'd be one thing to keep an eye out for the market to stay strong. If Apple can stay strong, it got hit in the pre-market, that'd be a nice turnaround. A major stock to watch to see stay strong is Microsoft. I talked about that on pre-market prep, how it'd be one of my indicators to watch. And I've been looking to see, can it make its way back? It's right now just following the daily trend down. So if anything, this doesn't really tell me that it's reversed on the trend. It needs to get back above 335. It could reject off that 335. That's the 9 EMA on the upside. Just the same way we look at it on the upside action, we're going to look at it on the downside action. If it stays above at the resistance and stocks can't go back above that, then we're not changing the trend right back up. If anything, we're pulling back still. So I'm looking to see if Microsoft can really get back above that 335 today. If it does, we'll be looking really good for, I think, market to continue to the upside bounce. But if that doesn't happen, this could just be a wick on the hourly and the Qs could stay in this box. This is when we got to be careful. The box trading. When we trade in the box, right, for the indexes, this is easily how we just give up money as day traders and swing traders. Let's just be honest. Because even within this, you're going to get a lot of what? Range-bound moves. So it's going to stay within the range of the stock a lot of the times. And that's easily how you do what? You stop out smaller time frame traders. Thoughts on Open? I'd watch Zillow, but let's keep an eye on it. Open coming down pretty fast there. I'd take a peek at Zillow. Zillow just recently came out with pretty decent earnings. So Zillow is pulling back. So that's the best of breed there, right? And you're looking to see if this could change trends. If I saw Zillow take off back towards 56, I'd maybe look to see if Open could catch the bounce. But right now, it looks like they're flushing on Open. And the big thing with this is that Open is more like that stock that had like high short interest and was starting to turn around because people were seeing a turnaround in those types of stocks. So they were looking into ditches. Now, what are people doing? They're probably taking profits in a lot of names like this, right? A lot of names that were from May and have been up 200 something %. They're like, okay, I'm also not going to give up another 50 or 60%. So if I can take the money, you see it there. RF at DN saying getting hit. I think it's Redfin. Let me go to that one. It's RDFN. That's what I had it wrong. Thank you. Appreciate that. Kaylee mentioned in the chat, and that's taking a big beating back. And of course, that's not going to help the Zillow move there. And then Rocket had earnings also. That one's actually doing a little bit better. So just to kind of state something that's doing a little bit better in the industry. We'll see if Rocket can get going. Of course, Rocket does have high short interest, right? This one could get a move off the ground. Why? Because people could just look to something that they could attack today. So this actually doesn't look too bad here off the 11. And I find myself a little crazy saying that for Rocket, but yeah, it doesn't look too bad today. I'm just going strictly off like the action. Uber looks a little bit head and shouldery. Looks like it wants to pull back. These are the type of stocks that I'd be careful. Apple needs to really kind of flip back, get right back up there. Just hold the pullbacks to the VWAP. You see the hold back to the VWAP right now. major importance. If we just whoosh through the 184s, this looks like a bearish engulfing candle. If it holds the pullback, it looks like a bullish engulfing candle. So that's how quickly technical analysis on short time frames can change. This is why I even use 5 minutes, not the 1 minute here. 15 minutes is going to be a little bit better. Really, I like hourly chart outlooks. Why? Because you can see here how this line here makes sense for what? Longer term support. It's right here. This support right now, the 185.04s is acting as support. Will it continue acting like as support where it legged down at 6 p.m.? Or will it reverse off of this action and actually make this hourly candle go green? It opened at 186. You would want to see this candle close above 186 to see this flip back to green. And that would have to happen before the 10 a.m. hour. And you got about 15 minutes. So you could also do what now? If it's 15 minutes, I can watch the next 15-minute candle to see if it turns green. This is that 9:45 candle right now. Let's see if it turns green and Apple wants to reverse through 186.
Mitch, can you allude that just because they missed on iPhone revenue or they're guiding a little bit below estimates for Q4, that's the reason why the stock is down? Or is it just because it's been up a lot this year and it just needs to take a breather?
What I think it's more related to specifically in Apple's situation is what I've been talking about in the overall industry. And I think this is also kind of take everything with a grain of salt, right? Because you're trying to get a collective investor psychology, right? Nick, I talk about this all the time, how it's psychology. So it's a collective, right? Just because, I feel some way doesn't necessarily mean it has to be this way, guys. I want to state that before I say it. But my biggest thing that I mentioned on pre-market prep today, and I feel 100% like confident in saying this, I think it's the AI hype, Nick, not matching nominal factors in the earnings. So what do I mean by that? So I talked about this when the AI wave came, that would we actually see revenues at the bottom line, right? Because that's what I want to see. I want to see that your AI product not only comes out and people are buying it, but does it affect your revenue? Did you have such and such percentage increase because of your AI products, right? If you give me that, Nick, then I'll be more than confident to buy you on AI hype. Like NVIDIA, what did they talk about NVIDIA? What were they saying out there? They were saying that NVIDIA could mint 300 billion in AI revenues by 2027. 10 times expect takings this year. 20% upside to run in the AI boom. The added chip maker could generate 300 billion on just AI specific revenue by 2027. When you give this, what do you create? I'll tell you right now, you create a bubble. You create a bubble real quick. Why? Because investors love searching for what? Future earnings. You give me an outlook that you're going to make 300 billion on something that didn't exist yesterday and now it exists. Yeah, of course I want to go buy in that stock. But the big thing I think they're there to watch, and let's watch the SPY new high. Good mention there as the SPY start to push up here and every sector almost going into the green. So watch out, traders, as the bears are probably getting smacked a little bit here. Industrials are still in the red and consumer cyclicals, but they're coming back really quickly here. And we remember we're watching Apple as a good indicator there. And you guys can see here, it actually wicked, but didn't break that little line down here that I was drawing, and now coming right back up towards those 87s. So Apple staying strong. Microsoft, we'll see if Microsoft can hold this 332s. Does it come right back up for that high and take out 335s? That's going to be my indicator to start saying, okay, we can have some strength on the day. A lot of this will also be the watch of the Qs. Get out of the rectangle. The SPY is ripping up to the upside. Why? Because of rotation. Rotation when you have here 11 sectors and you have 9 in the green, of course that's going to start driving the SPY a little bit better because the SPY is more diversified, right? Includes more stocks versus the Qs, which is more leaning that tech heavy, right? That's just kind of just to give you guys that outlook there for our newer traders. Cup and handle on AHI. I'll take a look at that. Let's see if there is one there. Cup and handle on AHI. Let's take a look at a daily, right? I think that's what you're talking about. Daily to me just it's tried to make attempts run and just can't get going. Big thing for me on this stock is just the volume dies off on days where it doesn't trade. And that's a little dangerous because I feel like you're playing with bigger traders there. When volume dies off like that, I don't feel like you're playing with a lot of retail action. And so that's where I'd be a little bit scared in a stock like Ahi. But it did pop above this 450s multiple times. Now went to above 450s. I think it was at 580s in the pre-market. I would want it to start holding around these levels. It definitely wouldn't want to see it break 4. That could be a broken trend there. But hey, to each his own with these smaller names. They're very hard to call. And the one thing that I can see there is liquidity is not my favorite on AHI. Oxy up, Oxy ripping, man. Oil, baby. Oil. Chevron, let's go. Let's get to 163. I'm trying to sell some out there. I'm actually going to cancel the order because I think it could actually pop through it. But we're looking pretty decent on stocks today, guys. Humana actually going up also. That's getting up above the 490s. That got up to 491. So keeping an eye out on this one. Definitely don't want to give up the gains on that. I even have a stop at 485. So no matter what, I'll have a gain on Humana. But watching that. CCL going lower, so I'm happy about my short. My short is the one play that's actually probably going down on the market today. And why? Because it's in consumer cyclical here. And what are we seeing? We're seeing leisure take a hit, right? So keep your eyes on leisure stocks. RCL, probably I'm going to keep an eye out on that to see if it recovers. But right now, it is on the downside. All right, so Chevron, I'm going to start taking some profit here soon. I'm looking for a little bit more pop, but nice little move there in Chevron. Oil, baby. Boeing is just, I would say Boeing is moving with the industrial move. So if industrials can get back to the green today, that's one way to look to see if Boeing can get a nice little uplift today. XLI is something I'd be watching to see if it bottoms out right here and then comes back up, because we have been seeing industrials pull back. That's why I'm a little bit concerned about buying Deere already. I wanted to get down there towards the 420 level. We've pulled back a decent amount, but I think we can do one more whoosh down where we get to like 420, this 417 level, and then I'll buy it somewhere below 420s towards that 417, looking for the move back up. As Cat gave some awesome earnings, but it's pulling back also. I expect Cat to maybe come back and try to fill this gap. Somewhere in this gap, I would maybe take a shot on it, but not going to take the shot up here, right? I got to be careful there. Trend NVIDIA short here. Let's take a look at NVIDIA, as of course, they're probably a little bit of a battle back to the upside. And I can't blame you on NVIDIA short. It's very hard, man. It's very hard. I'll tell you that. I tried to do it yesterday. You guys saw me get out on it. And that was not actually NVIDIA. That was with another kind of ticker, but it's a difficult stock to read for sure. Apple coming right back down. So be careful there, team. We didn't really get that expansion move. We got another attempted wick here around the 185. Close below the 185 on 5 minutes, I start being a little bit concerned. Microsoft went down right back down to 330s. That gets me a little bit concerned that we could see a little bit of a fake out to the upside today. I've been reading Microsoft a lot because I feel like this was the one that talked about AI the most, really, about how AI was going to change Microsoft. Everyone started looking at Bing and stuff and talking about Bing. I was like, come on, guys, really? You know you guys are all still using Google Chrome right now. And using Google search. You're not using Bing. Who uses Bing out there? That's like telling me that you're threading it right now. Are you really threading it? Let's be honest. Yeah,
hey,
no,
Mitch,
you're
I
still
just
on
put up
Twitter.
my chart for AEO, American Eagle Outfitters. We have a news alert regarding this.
Nice.
Gordon Haskett's firm, Gordon Haskett's Bilson, thinks that there's a big activist in the company, and he says, quote, Barclays was buying company for someone in Q2 and exited Q2 as a top 10 holder, end quote. I'm trying to get some more comments on this. The stock did have a little bit of a spike. Let me transition it to a one-day chart. You can see there was a little bit of a spike here early morning, but now has receded off those levels just a little bit. Stock is higher, I believe, right now by about 1.68%. So we're going to have to watch this just because Gordon Haskett can move the stock. They do move the stocks in a lot of ways if they have particular activist notes on it. We're going to watch. I'm going to try and reach out to Gordon Haskett and AEO for more comment on this. And if I do hear back during the show, I will bring that to you.
Love it. Love it there. Good comments all by Nick Brown. Like always, if you guys have anything out there you guys want him to take a look at, throw it up in the chat. And stay tuned, guys. We got something coming up for you guys at 11 a.m. Eastern. You guys can see that at the bottom as Christopher Robbs, independent financial writer and former senior writer and vice president at FundStrat's global advisor, will be joining us. Stick around, team. It's going to be a good one. Nick Brown will be leading that interview. I'm excited to give Nick Brown some more opportunities here at Benzinga, just like you guys out there could be getting opportunities. Of course, that's what we're here for at Benzinga, leveling the playing field for you guys out there. Let's keep getting in the trading action. And you guys, let us know what you're looking at. I hear someone yelling. Get it? Let's take a look at Yell. Yell up there.
Don't even go there. Don't even
441.
go there.
What can I say, man?
It's a bankrupt stock. It's a bankruptcy company. I don't even know why we're
you know what it
in.
is. You know what it is, right? It's a
Stonks.
stonks. Stonks.
Yes, it is a stonk.
It is not a stock. It's a stonks.
Stonks.
And that's what we call those here, Nick Brown. So we'll see what happens on that one. Can it get up, man? Can it get up? I mean, you know the traders on this, right? They'd be like, hey, don't be mad, man. It's EA Sports, man. Don't be mad.
EA Sports. It's only a game. Why do you have to be mad?
Don't get mad, man. I'm just looking at Yo.
I would never
we'll
get
see
mad
what
at you.
happens.
It's still interesting how yellow is still part of the story now. It's still making headlines regarding the halts and how a bankruptcy stock is still moving along. But we'll see. This will probably die down with like Tupperware. Given August it's in the summer months and not much to really chew on just because everybody's on vacation.
Well, I can see one thing as clear as day, right? Is that this thing is trading very technically. I think that's very important to catch, right? You guys see me draw that how quickly? That takes me like maybe 10 seconds to draw the stock out. And I think that's an important level to now start watching. Now we can start looking at what? My rule of three coming in here. And I want you guys to more long think about this. And I'm not telling this for you guys that are actually trading it, but more long if you guys aren't trading and you guys want to check out what the rule of three is. So a lot of the times I'm going to show you guys the action. And believe it or not, I'm going to use Benzinga Pro for this because I've been trying to do more and more of showing the path feature on Benzinga Pro, which I think is an amazing feature for you guys to just chart on Benzinga Pro here. And I'll go to Yell and I'll show you guys this right now. Let's talk a little bit about Yell today's action and how this stock works, right? And so right now you can see that it's kind of like fighting here within the 450s, right? I'm going to actually zoom back a little bit here. Let me zoom out a little bit. There you go. All right, so let's draw this up, right? And I'm going to use the path tool. If you guys haven't used that before, it's pretty fun to use. And what it does is that it allows you to actually draw the action, right? And so we're going to take a look here. So the first action is what? This first move up, right? And you get this wick towards the upside that went all the way up there close to like 5, I think. Yeah, the high was 5. And then you get this downside action where you come down towards the 274 action. And what I usually do is I draw it towards where the action reversed from. Not necessarily where it stopped at, where it reversed from. So over here is where I see it reverse from. It goes to this 280 and then bounces back up towards 450s. Now we're kind of stuck in this littler trend where it's kind of just riding within this, right? Riding within this. And I think that's what we got to keep watching. Do we get that breakout above here? And so what would I be watching from this point? I'd be drawing the trend line and kind of watching where is this going to go? Is it going to go above that level and continue the breakout, or is it going to go below that? From this point, we can start drawing what? We can draw our circles and things like that. And who knows? What should I do it like today for the rule of 3? Let's do it with some, let's do it with a little ghost. I'm going to have a little fun. So there's the ghost there. You guys can see it. That's going to be where we're going to see if we're going to get up there towards the 5. Will it do the move or not? Let's draw it up here. I'm having some fun, as you guys can see, using a little Benzinga Pro today. So this is the up action, the first up action. We're going to keep watching to see more up action. This is the second up action. Now we're on that third up action through. Will we get that up action through, or will we get a pullback back down? So that's where I'd be looking for us to get that nice little rip through and then hold on pullbacks towards 433s. I'd want to see a nice push at least towards 450s and then a pullback of 430s here. We'll see if we're able to get it. Let's go to the 15-minute here and check a little bit closer of the price action here, and it's not looking too bad at all. We'll look to see if we get above that 450s action. It's getting closer towards it right now. So keep your eyes on Yell, guys. We'll look to see if it makes the move through 450s. All right, let's keep going, guys. And it did have this pre-market action, and this is the 4th attempt officially. This is not the 3rd attempt. I don't see that action line up perfectly with my pro chart, but I would call this the 4th attempt, which should be the go attempt in my eyes. So I'd be watching this to continue here. If it breaks 4 again, I'd be all out of Yell. I think it reverses. We'll see what happens there. Early Halloween. Use the Doge emoji. I'll do it next time. I got you guys. We make lemonade from lemonade. We made lemonade from lemons. We make money from stocks. Let's go. Nicola. Nicola's already reversing, guys. I would be careful with this stock. This looks like it wants to come back down. All right, let's go back to the major stocks, right? Let's go back to the SPY. Let's go back to the Qs. Qs coming down really fast there as we're starting to see reversal action to the downside. I actually really like my Carnival position. If this comes back towards 1750s, I will probably re-short on this. I'm looking at Chevron to see if we can keep going. We pulled back to the VWAP. Want to see this hold VWAP. Want to see this come right back up there. Maybe it holds 161. Nothing below that 160.50s. Of course, I'm in at 160.03s. XOM still looking good too. Went all the way up there to 109. Now I want to start seeing it hold 108 on pullbacks. The same way it did here earlier out the gates. As long as it can hold 108s today and continue climbing higher, we're looking good there. Still swinging Cocoa. Cocoa. Oh, that's the Vita Coco stock, right? Yeah, there you go. This has pulled back significantly here. Doesn't look too bad off that 24 level there, Wisdom. Wish you the best on that one. I can see support there. It needs to just come back up towards this line and get back up there above the 26 and move into the 28s or 27s. You're going to be looking good on that Cocoa. The Vita Coco Company. Man, those things used to fly out the doors when I used to work at, when I used to manage the 7-Elevens, man. I couldn't keep those things in stock. Chevron pulling back here. Let's go to a stock, of course, a measure of the market, right? I talked about how does Apple hold this support. Look how I drew a thick line at it. It's been playing with that 185 there. Will it hold it here? Microsoft is a good indicator. It's pulled back to 330, starting to get a little bit of a bounce here. And what are the Qs doing? It seems to me like they're just playing within this rectangle that we talked about earlier. You see how it's just playing within it? And that's where we got to be careful, team. We're seeing a little bit of chop, a little move to the top. It wants to break out, then a pullback on the market, a little move to the top. Let's let the market do its thing here. We'll see what happens. What is that tool you just use? And is it TOS? No, this is on. So the tool that I just used was the Path tool, and that was on Benzinga Pro. And of course, we used our charts from TradingView. So if you guys are TradingView chart users, you could also find that Path tool. I find it a really good tool. Like, I'm even going to reach out to maybe TC. I'll be like, yo, you guys don't have that tool? Come on, get it for me. Because I normally do it here, but just with line drawing. I like how it already involves the arrow. You just click once, you draw the down move, and when you're done drawing the move, you double click and you're done with it. We'll go back to that in a little bit to review that action. Like always, guys, stick around. We got a great day for you guys right here. Don't go anywhere, traders. It's going to be a good one. Nick Brown will be interviewing just in a little bit at 11 a.m. It's 10:03. We got sports betting industry updates coming up later today. Jason Robbins, DraftKings CEO, will be on right here on Benzinga. So don't go anywhere today. I want you guys to stick around with me as I stick around. I mean, I'm going to be on today for like 5 or 6 hours straight. So you guys out there, smash the like. Let's keep it going right here, of course, live trading with Benzinga. It's always good to have you, Nick. And what was one report today that you were maybe looking at that maybe nobody else was?
I'm looking at this inflation data from the Cleveland Fed.
Talk about that.
And not many people really cite this. And so they put out everyday expectations for inflation and nowcasting. And so what this is doing is it just shows that they provide daily nowcast of inflation for CPI year over year and month over month. And it's for core CPI and
It's coming
CPI.
down fast, guys. We'll see
Yeah.
if it holds 373. That's the hold spot. Be careful because things are still choppy. We'll find out. Keep going,
And so,
my friend.
Mitch, what this data is doing here, and I'm about to post this up here on Twitter just because it's interesting. So, July 2023 CPI, 4/10, we'll call 4/10. We're rounding it to 4/10, but the actual data is 0.41%. Core CPI, 0.4%, PCE, 0.34%, and core PCE, 0.34%. August, that data has actually trickled up about 0.2%. August 2023, CPI 0.62%. Core CPI is the same, but PCE trickled up 0.12%. And even year over year, there's a possibility August CPI could be going back over 4% at a possibility. So this Cleveland Fed research is very interesting. I'm going to post these up on Twitter just for you to analyze this yourself. But I didn't even realize of this tool until someone brought it to my attention on Twitter. So this is some very interesting data that not many people cite just because I didn't even know it was out there. But remember, Atlanta Fed GDP now Q3 is printing 3.9% this week. That was the update on Tuesday, I believe. So Q3 is going to be very one to watch. And I know Mitch will be watching it because we've been talking about commodity prices spiking. I've been reiterating that now on this show for a few weeks. And we are seeing that trend in the Cleveland Fed CPI estimates. So we're going to have to really watch as we get CPI next week. B of A was out with an early preview. Got to go through that note. But other than that, Cleveland Fed CPI, a gauge to watch.
Nice turnaround there in Tesla. I saw someone earlier mention the Tesla short outlook, and that looks really great now. I actually am looking at it myself. If it can come back here towards the 260 area, 261, it actually looks pretty interesting for a little bit of continued short action. As we start getting this declining action, we'll see if the Qs actually break through the 373s. You see how we get a little bit of a bounce there? Now kind of a double bottom on the 5-minute around that level. And so be careful out there, team. We could just keep running into chop today. I'm really just looking to see if we can actually close an hourly candle in one direction or not. Right now, that's very important. Microsoft is one to kind of keep an eye out. That's actually going lower now, and that tells me a little bit more of a warning sign out there to see Apple really break down and see even Amazon maybe give up these gains today. And I think it could pull back a little bit. Maybe coming back here towards the 135 today actually makes sense on Amazon for a little bit of a kind of a little bit of a pullback kind of day. And then maybe it finds buyers around 135 and 134. So I'm actually even looking at maybe potentially shorting Amazon here, but that would take a little bit of guts, right? And that's completely going against the psychology today. We'll see what happens on the Qs though. They don't want to break that 373, or at least right now you broke 372.88. And what do you do immediately? Right back up to 373. So be careful with the kind of test between what I've been seeing on the Qs, which is this hourly range, this rectangle pattern. Will we break it?
Are you
Sideways
long Amazon, short Amazon, long Apple?
I have nothing right now, but I think that, one thing is Amazon keeps fighting to try to get above this 141.26. So what does that show me? That they're at least they're not finding much buyers in the 142 and 141.50 range. A lot of buyers willing to take it around here, around the 140.50 range. But if they get swamped through that 140, they're going to probably start letting go at least the intraday buyers, the people that bought at the open. We're not talking about people that bought yesterday, because if you bought yesterday, you mean you're at 130, right? So you're not stressing at all here. But it's something to keep an eye out for. And Benzinga, Smoke Tuna, Genie lost momentum coming down. Don't worry, Smoke Tuna. That Genie bag's going to be there for a while. We'll talk a little bit about that bag later today on the sports betting show. And I'll talk all about it, right? I talk about the negatives. I even have this drawn here. Guys, I don't hide from my things a lot of the times. I want to tell you guys about the negatives and the positives about investing, right? You guys see right here. I could have hid this. I could have hid these outlooks, right? I was looking at Genie for a nice monster run here in that September time. It was starting to come down, And I saw this break. I saw this technical break here. And you guys can even see the date that'll show up there. Created on 11/24/2021, updated on 12/7/2021. As I saw what? 12/7 was this date right here. As I started seeing the technical breakdown. And I said, this does not look pretty. And I remember there was a time where I was like, I can cut this at 17, Mitch. You can just get out of the trade. And I said, no, Mitch, you want to make this a long-term investment, Mitch. You can't be thinking so much about the short-term price action. You got to think long-term. Long-term. Hold it. Hold it. Oh, boy, that was the wrong answer. Right when it was about here at 13 and it got just whacked. That's when I really knew I was wrong on that outlook. And that just showed me more and more. Even on long-term investments, you need to know you're out. How much pain will you take before you get out of a trade is so important. And I want you guys to learn from that, man. And we'll see if I ever get my genie back, man. It's losing the momentum, that's for sure. It got up there almost to 8. But I got to get it up there towards at least like into the 11s. If I want all my money back, I could take majority of my money back here, but well, I'm just sitting in it. Jay, you sound like Spencer with his ARK and pot the stocks. Hey, it is what it is, right? You know how it goes.
Hey, Mitch, we have a news alert on Google. This just crossing CNBC.com. Google is offering an on-campus hotel special to help lure workers back to the office. They're offering a summer special for employees to stay the night at an on-air campus hotel for a discount. Some employees commented on the proposed hotel deal. The company has been cracking down on office attendance in recent weeks. I know for Benzinga, we actually do have an office policy. If you are in the Detroit area, I believe it is 2 days a week in the office. I'm not in Detroit. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm not sure where Mitch is located, but I don't think he's in Detroit.
Yeah, I'm in the office all the time.
Okay, fine. Yes, Mitch is in the office all the time. We'll go with that. But like Ryan, I don't think he's in the office that often. I'm not in the office. And so we are seeing a lot more companies crack down on work from home. And
look at the chop, man. The chop continues here, bouncing off that 373 right back up. So that's where it gets hard today, guys. Honestly, this is why I haven't opened up any other trade right now, because it just seems like there's just a bunch of chop. Is there charts that look good? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I want to go against the trend today. Go shorting Amazon. No, that would have just stuffed me right there. So that's why I'm being a little bit more patient here and trying to let the market determine where it wants to go. Because if the Qs don't get out of this hourly range, I think we stay in the chop. So why am I going to trade too much out of this hourly range if nothing's going on, right? No continuation. If anything, what am I doing? I'm just giving money to the algos if I take a whole bunch of trades here. And I don't want to give the money to the algos. Trust me, they make enough off of us. So we'll see what happens out there. Let's keep it going. I'll tell you one thing. I don't want to just get straight all around this market. So we'll keep watching.
Mitch, we are getting some more breaking news, and this Friday is not letting up. We are getting some more comments from Federal Reserve Bostic, Federal Reserve of, I believe, the Atlanta Fed. President Bostic, he says the U.S. jobs numbers came in as expected. He's comfortable. He said Fed likely to be in a restrictive territory well into 2024. Fed is on trajectory to get to 2% inflation, and he's not surprised wages are still strong, keeping an eye on it. We also do have Austin Goolsby from the Chicago Fed. I believe he is a 2023 voter. He'll be on Bloomberg shortly speaking, making more comments. And once those comments are coming through the wires, I'll bring those to you. But Bostic, he's comfortable with the jobs report. He's been reiterating that for quite a while. So we'll see what happens with today's market action.
Big day, I think, for Tesla to see if it holds on. I think a big level that I'm watching is around here. So I'll show you guys that. I'll make it pretty thick on the line there. And you guys can see it's from this big hard candle that it had off of the earnings, where it went down there towards 363, 362.70. It's rejected that earlier today. And I think that's an important level to see if it recovers today. If not, it could be coming right back towards 250s. So it's kind of like one of these interesting outlooks for me, because I could risk pretty tight about $2 to make $8 That seems like a simple trade there. We'll see what happens. But with Tesla, I always go about it at literally one share at a time to try to get an improved price point because, man, this thing sometimes it just spreads out and then just doesn't get me there, or it goes like a buck away from where I originally timed it. So I usually size into Tesla very, very slow, a share at a time a lot of the times. Baba coming back. We'll see what happens on the cues, right? The chop continues. Right now, it's still just chopping around. And of course, when you get Fed comments, what do we get more? Some chop, chop, chop. All right, what's going on out there, guys? How we doing?
We are getting some more comments from Goldsby. Feds Goldsby says the July jobs report is pretty much what we expected.
Well, that's all I can say is.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
You guys know where that's from? Anybody know where that's from? Let's see if you guys know where that's from. Where's that soundbite from? Testing the audience out there. SoFi bouncing off the low of the day. Let's take a look at that. SoFi around the 975s. All right, let's keep going. We'll see what happens out there. SoFi, will they get the bounce? I like SoFi down there at like back at 9s. It's at 973, but I would look for a little bit more of a dip. This has gone a little bit too far. It's filled the gap already, but I think it can go a little bit more. XOM. Let's go see some oil, baby. You guys know I love my we're gonna call it the black gold, right? Let's see right here. It's going higher at the 108s, 39s. Can it keep the hourly candle and just keep going higher? That's what I'm looking for right now. We'll look to see if we get that next little lift here. And I could look for some more oil names, but I did another Chevron position. So I've now essentially traded 3 full-size positions in oil to the upside. And that's where I get a little bit like, okay, Mitch, don't remember what we say. We're not going to let one trade make us, not one trade break us. That's easily how you go and start pushing a little bit too much. No over leveraging. That's one of my things that I want to start more preaching about. There's no need for it. Let's take a lot of trades. Let's take a little bit and then not lose a lot, right? I would rather trade a lot and lose little at a time than trade maybe 2 or 3 times a week and then lose a lot. That just destroys your mentality, guys. It's just too hard to be that accurate. Yeah, VLO made some good money, right, Wisdom? That was a good one. That was definitely some good money. And then later today, we'll see if the Donkey Kong, of course, DraftKings can continue, of course. This is an interesting report. I had a feeling this one would pull back a little bit today. I talked about that on pre-market prep, how I could see it pulling back at least some of this major rip. But as long as it can hold the support around $30, you're still looking good. You're seeing that pullback in DraftKings, though, today. As that happens, we'll look to see if it can catch the bounce. Respect your stop losses. I agree with that, too. MF halted. I'll take a look at it. Yeah, I think that's halted. At least it looks like it. I don't see bidding price and ask price. So you guys will see a lot of the times I have here on TC, I have a light blue by the price. And then the light blue, it's a little bit harder to see. I could make it a little bit easier if you guys wanted. I could put it as yellow, but it shows me the offer and the bid. And I always look at that. If I don't see no offer and bid, at least showing up on TC, that means it's probably halted. Another good sign is those 3 little sideways action lines. So last time this was halted about 5 minutes. Looks like this was halted around, let's say 10:16. You can look at Benzinga Pro to give you like more of an exact timing. That's another great feature that Benzinga Pro has, right? If you guys want to check that out, of course, go to pro.benzinga.com. I have it over here on the right-hand side. I'll take a look there to see what's going on there on this stock. That's MF. Let me see if I can get you guys the outlook here of when it will be coming back. Let me go to the details. I'm in my charting action. All right. And then the second, I'll check intraday movers here, and we'll see what's going on. Looks like we got a halt breaker at 10:11:16. Dun, dun, dun. This is trading higher after the company announced an entry of share repurchase agreements for financing and business acquisition. Looks like we got another one at 10:19:24. We just got the information on that. So let's see what happens there. Ooh. This stock is a big MF. But the volume, is it there? It's not too bad. The volume's increasing. You can see at least 1 million shares traded on 1 minute. That should give you enough time to get in and out. It's not too bad. Let's go back to the SPY. Let's go back to the Qs. Are we just playing the game today? And it seems like we are. That's where it gets hard, traders. That's where I like to focus more on the hourly candle to save me in doing what? Just over trading today. Like, I don't want to overtrade. And that's one thing that I've realized, like, if you can avoid that, that can help me so much. There's sometimes where I just overtrade in between the ranges of the indexes. And that's what I'm trying to avoid now. There's a lot of times where we have heightened volatility in this market. That's when we want to be trading. When the average true range is going down and we're not seeing much action in the market, that's when I want to be on the sidelines, waiting to see the move, waiting to see the price action. Why do I use TC2000? Well, one thing is I think the charts just look 10 times better than Thinkorswim's charts. I'll tell you guys that. Another thing is TC is way faster. I can tell you guys that. It's a lot. It's a low latency program. Takes very little amount of my computing processing power. And since I do so much with streaming, I have so many Google Chrome damn windows, and I'm sorry to say it like that, but Google Chrome, I mean, come on, man. You got to do something about your processing. Google, like, I almost feel like they do it on purpose. They just want to take all your computer processing so you don't do anything else on your computer. But yeah, I use a lot of Google windows and things like that. So I need a program that's low latency, really quick, and gives me a lot of ability of staying on one page. This is what TC does for me. This is what Benzinga Pro does for me. I only keep it on like one page, and then I can use a bunch of charts anywhere else, right? But majority of the time, I can find out what's going on in the market just with this one chart. I can move anywhere in the sectors. I can find out what industries are up. And I can tell you right now, there's not many people that can tell you what's going on in the market in about 10 minutes. I can tell you what's going on in the market. And I think that that's an important thing for me, especially being here for you guys, right? Trust me, if let's say if I was trading by myself, would I be using all these tools? No, I'd probably just stick to like Benzinga Pro and then my brokerage and then just focus on that. I need some news, I need a brokerage, and I trade. And of course, I'd be buying a lot more data because I would be focusing a little bit more on that. But for me on TC, it's one easy way that I can look into all the market and find where things are moving. And time is money. Wisdom knows. And Beach Bum saying, yes, Money Mitch, Chrome is a memory hog. Yeah, I have 64 gigabytes. And it still like takes up a lot of my like memory, right? I'm like, damn, Chrome. Savin Trading said, yeah, Chrome's a resource hogger. Come on, Chrome. You know they don't even need to do that. They do that on purpose. TC2000. Yeah, that's what you see here on the screen. They have their own indexes. I've been working with Benzinga to try to get to this level, guys. So we're going to be working that in. Trust me. I'm just getting it to the point where it's It's a little bit harder to actually make your own indexes, right? And so you could also use the spiders, right? Let's not get it twisted, right? You could also just use your spiders. You could use a watch list of the spiders to kind of keep watch of the sectors, and then also look in those spiders to see what's moving, like XLK, right? And so you can see what's moving in XLK in technology today. And you can see that we're bottoming and staying within that range, right? We'll see what happens on the day like today. As the Qs just play more chop, the chop continues. I'm not trading much until we get out of this chop. The only thing I'm focusing on is what? I'm focusing on oil continuing to the upside. Here's Chevron right back up. Boom, baby. Boom. Wanted to hold 161. It does exactly that. Now looking for the stair step higher through this 162.50 up there towards the 163. I'm going to sell out half the position there and then look for the rest to be what? Break even and an expansion win. We'll see what happens there if it can get through the 163s, and I'll take half out there and keep it going on Chevron.
Mitch, we're getting some more comments from Fed's Goolsby, or Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsby. He says that the job market cooling a bit, but it's still extremely strong. Wages are not a leading indicator of price inflation. Should start thinking about how long to hold rates. He did comment on the Fitch downgrade, and he says doesn't think that the Fitch downgrade will make a difference, will make much difference, and he thinks that we can get inflation down without a major recession.
Oh, good Lord. These guys, they just come out with some talk. You know how it is, man.
Yes. Also, Apple, I believe, is below the 50-day moving average for the first time since January.
Apple. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, Apple cracked on the long-term daily chart, and I think that that's important to see. There's this long channel that we just broke it, right? And so a lot of times when you break channels like that, you want to see instant reaction right back up. And so I've been looking all day to see if we're going to hold that 185. We've done wicks below that 185, but really haven't closed below that 185. Look at the 15 minutes here. Look how there's these huge wicks below 185, but then the candles close right back above 185. What does that show me? That shows me a lot of times they wash it on these algos, and they're actually picking up volume there around the 185s. I'd look to see if this could keep going. There's MF reopened there, guys. Let's go back to that stock there. Now it's up there to $2, getting that nice little lift higher. Of course, we've talked about how this stock has halted now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could go on the 6th halt here. It's up there to 234s. Man, what a move there on MF today. And I don't know this stock at all. Miss Fresh Limited, but you guys have been all over it here. That's what our chat's all about. You guys keep up with all the stocks, and that's what we do here at Benzinga. Whether it be a $3 stock, $2 stock, or we go back to Apple and we talk about that. Where else are you guys getting this? I don't think there's too many people that go from Apple, from DraftKings to MF. Let's just say that. Where are you hearing the Fed heads talking at? Are they just like giving out statements, Nick?
No. Goolsby was on Bloomberg minutes ago as we spoke, and Bostic either was on another TV station or he put out a one of the reports regarding inflation. But I know Goolsby was on Bloomberg because it was alerted to me.
Hey, that's my boy, Nick. You know, my boy is the cash register. So appreciate you, Nick, coming in, man. All right, Chevron, let's go. Come on, I want to get some profits here. I'm up there to 162 right back there. So I'm looking for that nice little drive higher here. Let's go to the 5-minute outlook here. Let's see if we can actually get that drive. I'd like to see it start holding the VWAP from here on out. Not 161 now, 161.50. So just moving it up, laddering up. What am I looking at? I'm just trying to look to see if we continue like a higher low trend, right? You can see it also on the 15-minute. Watch for that. We'll see if we could get the action towards the upside here. XOM also going to look for that to keep going, man, and start squeezing out some of these shorts. A move towards like above 109 today into the 110s. Oh yeah, we're going to start squeezing out some of this, all this downside action here. So I'm ready to see that happen. We'll just see if that can really start squeezing, get out of this bearish pattern, flip right back into a bullish pattern. Shop or Amazon. So I say neither win today, but that's just my personal outlook. I want both, though, on pullbacks. Amazon trying to make the move there. We'll see. It's also getting like just fighting here. It's just kind of slowing down. Slow up today in the market, I feel like. Tesla, right back down there. Tesla doesn't look strong by any means. That didn't even come back there above the 260s. Didn't even come to VWAP. Testing the lows here. This actually looks pretty weak there. That makes me think that Ford and stocks like that, it's just not going to be doing well here. Even like Fisker that announced new cars, I think it turns around and boom, it gets smacked. A lot of this is, one thing to keep in mind with auto manufacturing. I've talked about this plenty of times. When Tesla does well, the smaller names just kind of follow along. The leader is Tesla. Once Tesla turns around, eventually they turn around. At least that's what I've seen on the charts. But you guys tell me. Still in yell. The shorts are underwater. I don't think the shorts are still underwater there. I wouldn't understand why shorts would be in this, man. But that's just me, Crow. Why would shorts be in yell? I personally don't understand that one. There's only $4 on the downside. What are you going to risk to the upside? This is my personal outlook. Maybe there's some dumb hedge funds out there. I just think that would be pretty dumb, personally. That's just my opinion. Secret Treasures, that Money Mitch is doing a good job. Actually, if I'm honest, I will have him on the Trading Live show. There you go. Hey, let me know, Secret Treasures. Always willing to come on, man. Any news on Upwork? You can take a look at that. Nick will take a look. Of course, you give him a second there, but I'll take a look at the price action. Upwork is getting a nice little lift today. This looks like a little bit of a more like a short squeeze type of stock here. So maybe we start looking at stocks that haven't really gone versus the one that have already had huge runs. So Upwork here seems like a little bit of a nice little squeeze. What are we getting from some Upwork action here? I'll kick it to my man, Nick Brown. He's taking a look at it in a second. He'll bring it up for us.
I was going to say for Upwork, they reported earnings on Wednesday this week, and they were well better than expected. They beat on the top and bottom line. Revenue was higher than consensus estimate. Adjusted EPS for Q3 that they're guiding to was above the estimate. Even full year was above the estimate for the top and bottom line, adjusted EPS and revenue. And multiple firms have raised their price target on the stock. Upwork was even up yesterday, I should say, as well. So this is a continuing day rally just because of the good news. So this is an excluding stock where it reported on Wednesday. It did very well, and it's continuing the strength, something that we haven't seen in a few days regarding the Fitch downgrade and something we haven't seen in a while.
All right, I'm seeing this bear flag on RCL, and I'm getting a little bit excited here. I'm thinking about maybe adding towards going for an RCL short and increasing my exposure short in cruises. Of course, this would be going against the recent trend. But what do I see here? I see a down one, up one, down two, up two, down three, up three. I'm going to look for a rejection to get back above that 104.60s right now. And then I'll go short it downwards towards the 103s and 100. Take majority of it out towards 103s and then look for the move towards 100 for the expansion win. And only have to risk about maybe 40, 60 cents here. So I like the outlook here. We'll see what happens on RCL. I want to see an attempt to try to get to 65s so that some buyers can get trapped. And then I'm going to jump short here. Nick is always a great addition to the show, man. Nick knows he has the door open, just like you guys out there have the door open. Let me know. Aren't short interest 30 days behind? Yeah, that's why I don't trust them at all, Paul C. That's why I don't even care half the time for short interest. It's too outdated. And I've talked about this. The SEC needs to do something about this. I'm all for trying to do a petition to try to get better short interest information. Like, let's do it, guys. Let's do it. Let's make a movement here out of Benzinga, baby. Nick, you with me?
For the SEC, they've been far asleep at the wheel. I'm not even worrying about it.
Yeah, because I'm just in agreement that retail should have access to that type of information, right? Like
Yes.
we always talk about how these hedge funds try to go against us and stuff like that. Why don't you just give us the real information? I want weekly updated short interest information.
Yes.
Weekly.
Even on for Congress too, Mitch. I don't
Yeah.
think that the Congress people should be trading stocks with insider information. I don't think it's fair in general to individual traders, either hedge funds or the SEC needs to do something, and it would be it would be a good time to reach out to Gary Gensler, see if he would come on our show, live trading or even swing trading or Benzinga Live, one of our shows, because I do have some questions for Mr. Gensler that I do think that they need answered, but it's very hard because you never hear Gensler saying, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to take action to stop this. They just go after little things that really don't matter or don't mean anything.
Yep. I'm looking through the sectors to see what's looking good. And I always love doing this because I think that this is one of my favorite things to do is just look at sectors analysis. So that's why I'm looking at industrials pulling back. That seems to make sense right now after a huge run. Energy just taking off. I mean, look at this, guys. We were talking about this way before it started getting here. We created this line way back in the past. We created this resistance line on December 1st of 2022. Now we're actually going back through that line. So we're actually having a better outlook, at least sector-wise, on energy than 2022. I don't know about you guys. That's something to be a little bit concerned about on the price of oil. And then if we take a look at oil today overall, I can do that on Mumu. I can take a look here at crude oil futures. I'm a little bit delayed, but still, I see a spike right back to 82. 82 has been the resistance. This is where we need to see if the hourly takes it to 83s and 84s and 85s. If oil ends up going towards 88 and $90 a barrel, that's where I think we got to start watching out for the market, because that's going to cause inflationary pressures to come right back into this market. So that's a sign of concern for a little bit later down the line. I'm still believing a little bit in this AI bubble, but I think we're slowly seeing that the revenues are not matching the hype. And as soon as that happens, we can easily pop this bubble. Talked about that on pre-market prep this morning.
Yes, Mitch, do you think oil has this opportunity to go to 90, then 100? Do you have like an outlook or some kind of a guesstimate of where oil could end? Now we're seeing firms saying oil could end up near 100, 110, 120. We are getting back to those levels, and that's going to create inflation again for it to go up, but also gas prices near $4 in my region. They were like 360, 350 earlier in the summer, and now we're near $4 again. And so that's going to weigh on traveling, I think, if prices continue to go higher.
Short interest stock that kind of lift there. I think this is the China name, Top Financial. This is the stock that went absolutely crazy. And I actually know of a famous short trader that actually traded this on the long side. That was Dux. If you guys know who Dux is, and trust me, I keep up with all the gurus. I know them all, guys. I know them all. But yeah, so they were trading top, and so you could be careful because that could be like kind of that chat room type of pump. I'm not saying that is exactly it, right? I always can tell you guys what I see, and take everything I say with a grain of salt. But top getting that nice little push there. We'll look to see if it holds 7 on pullback. 690 still makes sense right now, but be careful. One thing I am seeing though, that there was a little bit of some volume that came in here. I would look in the time and sales to see if this was one big buyer or if it was more algorithmic volume. That was about 69,000. When just prior on the 5-minute, you only traded 4.7 thousand shares. So something happened there, right? A jump from 4.7 thousand to 69,000 shows, be careful there. Either someone got filled at 7 big, or you probably ran through a seller wall. You got to be careful out there. Something happened there, guys. I wasn't watching the tape, so I can't tell you guys that. I do see crude trying to break above the 82s. I'm keeping an eye on it. I want Chevron to get that 163 run. Even close to 163, I can take half off and then just let this rest of the trade work. A lot of the times I always feel a little bit impatient on trades until I take that first reward. And then I feel like so much pressure comes off my shoulders on that first reward. So I'm looking to get that. We'll see if we get it. Humana looking to see if that makes the next move above the 492s. Of course, 485s. And I'm out of the rest. Let's go to the Qs and see the chop that this market is giving us. It's coming right back towards the upside, but not really giving us breakouts, right? One stock to keep an eye out for is Apple. The 185s are still fighting there, Nick. Can you believe it? How long have I been saying the 185 on Apple, 185 on Apple? It just seems like there's a bunch of algorithmic volume or an institution that's like, I'll take 185 right now. And so be careful with a quick move up here. And then all of a sudden, boom, or a quick move down. We don't know, but that's an important level there. When you're seeing so much sideways action off of one level, we're talking about 1.1 hours into the day, and we're still just fighting that one level on Apple.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, Mitch, to see where Apple heads in through September, how the stock does, just because of the iPhone 15. Yes, may your trades always be profitable. Yes, that's something that we try to do here at Live Trading, is to make sure you guys are getting the correct trades and are doing, making money here. But on Apple, Mitch, I don't know. Do you think the iPhone 15 is already built into this market where the stock is now, or do you think that Apple could run on iPhone 15 news? I know it's not an AI yelling company like everybody else is, like Google and Microsoft are yelling about AI, but Apple could run here for the iPhone 15 launch. I mean, Dan Ives of Wedbush has been pointing out that people are not upgrading iPhones, and the iPhone 15, the catalyst there is they could be going to upgrade the iPhone with the USB, with the new charging port, battery life. So I don't know how iPhone 15 would be. I have a 13 Pro Max. I'm not looking to upgrade just yet. Maybe next year. I know you have an Android, so yeah.
Tried. That's all I got to say, man. Dry. No, all I got to say is
switching?
Buy American and hire American.
That's what I'll say, Nick, for you.
So you wouldn't consider switching? That's not a thought?
No, man, it's never a thought. I can tell you right now, I don't like Apple products. Haven't had them in a long time. Now, do I feel like the majority of the majority of consumers, I'm not going to call them sheeps this time. The majority of consumers like
iPad?
Apple.
No Apple iPad?
I just got an iPad. I'll give them that. I'll give them that. I have an iPad. And that was just because it was like a cheap, well-performing tablet.
Thoughts on the iPad?
The iPad, I think is it's a good thing. It's a good tool, but it's more for like a worker. I like it because I can just like, do a lot of things like while I'm around the house, like keep up with the market. You know what I mean? I never lose track of the market that way. I'm even in lunch and I have like my iPad open on the right-hand side and I can just take a peek at stocks if I need to. But no MacBook Pro.
You need a MacBook Pro.
I mean, my computer is like twice the capability of a MacBook Pro. So I don't know if I need that.
Apple keyboard is the worst. I agree with that. I don't like the Apple keyboards.
Yeah, and the keyboards are really small, tiny. It's like you look like this half the time. This is how I see people type on laptops. This is why I don't use a laptop, because I don't want to end up like looking like a raptor. This is dumb. This is dumb typing the whole time. And this is bad. This is horrible for you. That's how you get arthritis. I'm good, guys. Laptops are bad for you, man. I think overall, unless you use like a separate screen, a bigger keyboard, full-size keyboard. You see this bad boy? You think I'm stretched? Oh no, it's just how it is though. But for real, watch your kind of posture while you use laptops. That's one thing I noticed that there's a reason why I don't use laptops. Chevron, let's go, baby. Let's go, oil. Let's get it going. Yeah, wireless keyboard, wireless mouse. That's going to help you if you do have a laptop at home. Paul C says you get arthritis because you get old, Mitch. Probably what it is, Paul C, but maybe I'm not the biggest health expert. I will say that. Standing desks are wonderful. Yeah, the standing desks are wonderful.
I want to get one of those. I know Jay Woods. I don't know if he's listening. Jay Woods has a standing desk. When I was in his office touring New York City, that standing desk was awesome.
It's a good thing to have. I like it too. Looking around in oil to see what kind of plays are still like kind of lagging, because this looks pretty decent. Like this kind of pullback action I like on EOG. And so, like, you see how you come back to the 9 EMA, but what do you have to go off of? You have a bunch of daily supports to go off of here. So stocks like this is how I'd be looking at right now, because, like, okay, so I am getting a huge daily pullback, but look at that nice little pattern there. If it can hold that support there, I know where I can risk off of. At least I know that. And I have the 9 EMA as support. So momentum traders see that. I know that much. Now you come back to this 129, looking like you want to break down. And if you could recover 130.50s, you look pretty decent here on EOG to come right back up to the 131s. So I don't really mind this stock, but of course that's me triple downing in oil. And that's where I'm not trying to do it right now. I'm like, Mitch, take it easy. Once I take profits in Chevron, I can maybe take another position, right? Because I've made some profits and maybe I can risk those profits. Avocados are great for treating arthritis. Thanks, Mr. Man. I actually meant the iPhone keyboards are terrible. I'm sorry, went off a little bit of a tangent there, Scuba.
A few moments later.
Hey, don't blame me, guys. It wasn't me. Yo, going down. Ooh, that 4 gave up. That 4 gave up on Yell. We'll see what happens. You see a lot of wicks when you got towards that 437. Doesn't look too great there. I'll see if it lets go towards the 375. Humana not looking the best now, but I'm looking for that to hold that action. No matter what, I'll take some profits. XOM now up 5.5%. So that was a newer one that we opened this week after I took profits in PXD. Now up there to 109. So looking pretty decent there. Still riding Chevron higher. It's gotten up to a high there of 162.70. Both times I'm looking for that run to 163. We're almost there. Let me see if I can get one more little push up here in oil. All right, looking around, trying to see here on the cues. Are we ever going to break out of this hourly range? It seems like we're stuck in this hourly range. It's 10:46, guys. We're going to keep going all day long, it seems like, here on Benzinga. So smash the like. Don't go anywhere. If you need to go get a coffee, if you need to go get a tea, if you need to just go ahead and get whatever you need, some crispy water, right? Like, you guys heard that open up. Let's get it going, guys. Let's get a nice little break going. If you need it, go get a break, because we're going to keep going here on Benzinga. We got the sports betting industry coming up next. We'll get all into sports betting. Chris Ketchy will be joining us, of course, one of our best journalists here at Benzinga. If you guys don't know Chris Ketchy, there's a reason why I say don't miss the catch with my man, Chris Ketchy. That'll be coming up at 11.
Mitch, is it just me or are me and you in the same boat? We each have a coffee. I have 2 bottles of water on my desk. What else is next? What else can I get?
Hey, trust me. If I could get one of these Dutch boy coffees, oh man, I would do it in an instant. You guys know Money Mitch, a big fan of the Dutch Bros coffee. They have this thing called like the 911. Oh, Nick. That is savage. It's like 7 shots of espressos, bro.
Yeah, I don't need that. I have enough energy to begin with.
Like one time I actually bought it because I drove my wife to like Denver airport, and then her flight got canceled, and I was already back in Colorado Springs, which is about 2 hours away. And I was like, I had to go all the way back, and I was like, you know what? If I'm going all the way back, I need something to keep me up, man.
You need something.
So I went with 7 shots of espresso. Yeah, holy crap.
Did it taste? Was it good? Would you recommend if someone needed it for a sleep, or if like their flight was canceled and they need to stay awake?
They're weird. They add like this Irish cream to it. So I don't know if I'm too much of a fan of the Irish cream additive, but they did add like a lot of caramel that sweetened it up, so it wasn't that like bitter. But I mean, holy crap, man.
I don't know. How do you take your coffee? I normally just make. Do you have a Keurig at your house, or do you have the pot?
This is when I'm gonna sound a little hypocritical here on myself. Even I'm like,
Okay.
Come on, brain. Think, brain. We're gonna die. Last chance to get out of here.
all right, so I'm gonna talk about. I talk so negatively about Starbucks, but I gotta talk something positive about Starbucks.
Oh, here we go. This got to be good.
So, and Starbucks is actually going up right now. So just be careful out there, team. I am seeing Starbucks get a little bit of a lift there. Amazon's an important one to keep an eye out for. That just got a recent lift here. I've talked about how we could potentially get the lift eventually. Now that Amazon's leading, right? Look for Microsoft to get back to the green from the open. Watch that stock. That's one of my indicators to look for. A nice little rip to 335. That could get tech stocks moving. Of course, I'm staying focused on the stock action, but we can still have some fun, right? Okay, so for Starbucks, one of my things about Starbucks that I think is they do really, really well in, and I got to say, they got the best creamer out on the market. Creamer-wise, they have the best creamer without a doubt. Like, I would take this to the bank on anybody that they have the best creamer. And the reason why is I know one of their secret tricks. They use buttermilk in their creamer.
Oh,
which
I didn't know that.
causes a thicker creamer, right? Like, I mean, that's what I want. I want a thicker creamer. I use that kind of whisk, like the little cheap little whisk. Then I make my own little, pretty much latte this every morning. So
What flavor is it? Does it have a particular flavor?
Caramel macchiato, which is essentially like caramel. Right?
Oh, okay. I used to get that. Now I just get the French vanilla.
There you go. Not too bad. All right, we'll see what happens here as we start getting this up action. We can look for Apple to do what? Recover 185. We'll see if that happens here. It's actually testing down that 185. Look to see if we get this reversal right off of it in a big candle going to the upside. Am I calling anything right now? No, I'm saying look for it, right? That's what I want to make sure that so I'd look for a bullish engulfing candle towards 186 reversal, about a $1 reversal to the upside. I'm even going to draw this green so that you guys can look to see if that happens. And then that's what I'm looking for. So that's the outlook, this candle turning into a big green one. Let's see if it covers the candle to the left, which is a hammer candle, right? We'll see if it goes back up through 186. The Qs are going to be very important on this too. I want to see the Qs go up through 376. Amazon continue its upside breakout that it's doing right now. And then we got to see, of course, if Microsoft can get back to the green. Microsoft is down still. It's just came back to VWAP. Let's see if it makes a break towards 334. EMPH very strong today. I cannot trade solar at all, man. I'll tell you right now, I feel like this sector is giving little pops back to the upside and just trapping people. I think First Solar eventually falls off a rock, but that's just the way I feel. Hey, to each his own if you guys feel solar is going to come back. Now, one thing I would say about solar and why it could be coming back today is that a lot of times for some reason, and this, I don't have this reason really. It could just be because it's energy overall, but when oil goes up and energy goes up, the sector, for some reason, solar has a tendency of going up also. This doesn't always coexist, but a lot of the times I see this happen where if energy and oil goes up, solar gets a lift. So that's just something to think about, right? We'll see what happens here on First Solar, if it could keep going to the upside today. I'm going to keep watch on oil, of course, to see if that continues climbing. I'm still looking for a move to 163 here. And I think that this is important outlook for the longer term. I've talked about how if we keep seeing oil climb, it's had a move there towards 82. It's acted as resistance in the past, crude futures I'm talking about. And of course, if we see that climb there towards like 890, watch out because the inflation outlooks could be swinging back around, at least especially for like the outlook that, of course, includes energy, right? So that's one thing that I'd be keeping an eye out for. Oil is spiking back. And the last time that we had a CPI reading, oil was a lot lower than it is where it is today. We'll see what happens there. If I can keep making the grind up there on Chevron, that's probably the best position on the day, at least up a pretty good amount there. We're going to look for that one to keep moving. CCL is kind of back here towards the VWAP. I could add to this position. Just probably going to leave it alone at the time being, because we could get this rip up in the Qs, right? That could actually make this stock come right back to my entry. So we'll see what happens here. If we can actually get the Qs to get out of this hourly range that we're stuck in right now. And that's why I drew the rectangle early on. And you guys can see this rectangle. It's holding pretty well, right? And we drew that this morning. That's just what it is right now. So be careful with chops on both sides of that rectangle that we're in right now. Will the market move back up? Will it move back down? That's why I'm keeping a close eye on leaders today, like Apple, like Microsoft, like Nvidia. Those types of stocks are definitely on my radar today. And look how Apple is trying to get back here above the 185s. It's been such an important level today to watch for. Will we get the move or not? Keep an eye on it. All right, guys, it's almost 11 here. It's 10:54 in a little bit. We will be joined, of course. We'll be getting into some interviews, so stick around. Nick Brown's going to be leading that. We'll have Christopher Robb joining here. So I'm excited about that. And I'm going to let Nick Brown lead on that action. And then after that, we'll wrap up a little bit of the market. And then we'll bring you over to the sports betting outlook that's coming up later today on Benzinga, as we have bets. Round Hill ETF, which has a lot of major names in it, right? We have MGM, DraftKings, Caesars. We have IGT. We have sports data company like SRAD and Genie. We can talk about RSI's recent move. We can take a look at a lot of the gambling industry overall. And we're also going to be looking at forward-looking catalysts. Chris and I will be talking about certain things that could be moving the sports betting industry coming up. You guys don't want to miss that. I worked very hard to make sure that we touched just about everything in the sports betting industry. So stay tuned for that. And of course, our interview that's coming up at 11 a.m. as Nick Brown leads that. You know, he's looking great with that yellow tie. Give my man a great thumbs up for getting this great interview today. All right, let's keep going, team. We got about 5 minutes till we get you to that interview, and then I will hop in the background. I'm going to still be trading, guys, while the interview is going on, and you guys keep trading too. Keep talking about the action that's going on in the market. We will keep talking about the trading action as we keep going all through the day. Doesn't matter if I'm still on the sports betting. I'll keep a look on the Qs today, all throughout the day for you guys. So don't go anywhere. I think this is a very vital day because we could be breaking above or below this hourly range just later on in the day versus the first opening hours. We'll see what happens there in the market. Smash the like if you guys are enjoying the action today. We've had a lot of you guys out there. Let's see if we can get there to 200 likes out there today. I'm going to take a look right now where we're at. You guys smash it up there. How we doing on the like front, guys? Let me take a peek here. And you guys smash it up out there, guys. We need what?
$1 million.
I think we all need $1 million. We're at 106 here. Let's get it up there, guys. Smash it up. All right, not looking too bad there. Now towards 111. Come on, guys. Break the resistance at 200. I heard there's resistance at 200 likes. I need to destroy that. All right, you should interview Pete Rose. Honestly, that would be a dream come true. I would have a good conversation with him. But that would be a dream come true for sure. I actually met him in Vegas one time, but we can get into that conversation another time. SS Trade saying Hulk smash. Hulk smash that like. Let's keep going, guys. All right, we'll see what's going on in the markets. Definitely been a tough day today as we're seeing more chop in the market, and Apple's gone nowhere on the day. I think that's one of the things that I've been looking for, but now we're starting to get above the 185.40s. Will we make that 186 run? That's what I'm keeping an eye out here for. Of course, we can go to the kind of names that were kind of the growth names that were moving up. And I'm seeing Carvana make a big hit to the downside today. So just be careful on those types of names. Upstart, I talked about how I wanted to maybe short off that 70 it's starting to break down already, guys. So be careful with these momentum names. As momentum names break, they have a tendency of going fast. So be careful on those names like Affirm and things like this. They're starting to get weaker. Am I saying that the trend's completely broken? No, by no means. But are they correcting? Yes. So be careful out that as we see some downside action. All right, let's keep going out there, team. How we doing? Got to keep battling. We'll see what else is going on. All right, Meta also coming back down. That did a little move above the 317s. That looks like it's starting to act like resistance. So this could come back down to 310s. I'm actually starting to think about shorting Meta a little bit here off this 315, off this 316, but it would just be like an over the weekend short, right? It wouldn't be anything massive. It would just be for like that 310 to get hit, maybe a little lower. Maybe we get back down into this gap space around the 300s, 305s. So that's what I'd be thinking about here for Meta. I'm thinking about taking a shot here, but I want to see some up action first, come back towards the VWAP a little bit later in the day, maybe 315s, and then short off of that, off of like 317s, $2 risk for a move back down towards 300s, 305. That's about $10 on the outlook there. So 2 for 10. I'll take that anytime. We're talking more to like a 5-to-1 look on risk to reward. We'll see what happens there on Meta if it does start to break down. But that's 10:59. I'm going to go just really quickly, take a peek at the SPY, see if we start to make a move here, but start wrapping up and get you guys over to the interview that's coming up. Don't go anywhere, team. We got a lot more trading for you guys and some great conversation coming from Nick Brown. I'm even interested in hearing. I'm going to put this loud on my speakers as I get ready for my interviews coming up. And we'll see if the SPY takes 452s. Will the Qs get out of that hourly range, out of that triangle? That's a clear move above 376.61. I'd like to see kind of like a 15-minute candle close above that. We'll see if that happens. And of course, keep up with me in the chat if you guys see anything moving. But I'm going to go ahead and bring on Nick Brown, and I'm going to go ahead and get him going here. Bring down my charts and go ahead, my friend. It's time for you to take over, introduce your guests, and have a great interview. I'm even excited to hear a little bit more of Christopher Robb. You guys smashed the.
All righty. Thanks, Mitch. If you could bring on, we actually do have a special guest now. Christopher Robb. He is the former vice president and senior editor at Fundstrat. He's now an independent financial writer. Chris, I cannot wait to get to talk to you. Thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure, Nick. Great to see you. How have you been?
I have been well. How have you been?
I've been doing great. I'm out in California for the summer, enjoying a vacation, and it's great to talk markets with you today.
Yes, thanks. All right, we have so much to get to. Apple, Amazon, the Fitch downgrade, the jobs report. Let's just start with the Fitch downgrade really quickly, just because it's been making headlines.
Of course.
It's still a major concern here. What do you make of the downgrade?
You know, there have been mounting fiscal issues in the United States for many years, right? And there's no doubt that we are in many ways living beyond our means. I think I tend to agree with some of the luminaries that were puzzled at the timing, like Jamie Dimon, Warren Buffett, Tim Cook on the earnings call yesterday. I think that primarily, Nick, it probably had to do with internal dynamics and competition of the ratings agencies. You know, there's a huge sort of anti-debt sentiment on Wall Street, and you know, this was a victory for those people who have been criticizing you know, the overburdening of U.S. debt for many years. On the other hand, if you look at geopolitical competition and you look at economic growth, there's a lot of strong arguments to say that the United States is frankly in a stronger position than it's been in a long time. China's facing a lot of demographic challenges. Europe is facing higher inflation rates than us. And so I think the old cleanest dirty shirt metaphor still holds. And I remember this when we were last downgraded in 2011 on the verge of a debt ceiling crisis. And I was working in the regulatory area at that time. And I think that this is a much less significant downgrade. I do think that a lot of the issues they have brought up are legitimate, but I think ultimately the United States is in a stronger position. And I'm a big believer in the soft landing thesis. If that comes to fruition, I don't think the downgrade makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was going to say to that point, because we've heard that a lot from the White House, that this downgrade just doesn't make sense. But then you have TD Cowen getting really political with it. And I try to get the politics away from it, but it's just so interesting that TD says that Republicans are gonna attack Biden. I mean, why do we have to put politics into this? Why can't we just say, all right, Fitch downgraded, and they list their reasonings and move on? Why do we always have to get so political with it?
Well, one of my favorite concepts in markets that I think, and this, my former boss, Tom Lee, this is very big to his approach, is kind of focusing on cognitive bias and not just the fundamental and intrinsic value of assets, but also how the crowd is going to react. How is the crowd going to price the asset? Because ultimately, we're all slaves to the ask and the bid, right? The price is the ultimate arbiter in our industry, which is kind of nice. There's a certain certainty to that. Now, in politics and in markets, the fundamental attribution error, which is where you're attributing events maybe more than they should be to human actors or human attributes, right? So when you're president of the United States, and I did work for the Obama administration and used to work in politics, when you're president of the United States, you have the biggest target in the world on your back, and any problem that manifests is always going to be blamed on you, right? That's part of the office, and I think Joe Biden understands that, and I also think that he's done a lot in his 3 landmark policies to actually improve the financial condition of the United States long term. Now, there are certainly legitimate criticisms on the other side to the level of spending when he chose to initiate spending, but I am a believer based on recent data, particularly the jobs coming down this morning, which was a very welcome piece of data. The second downside miss after months and months of upside misses of 100,000 jobs or more. So to me, it's a pretty big data point that signals that a soft landing is definitely possible. But I think, in my opinion, as someone who used to work in politics, right, and that was a job. When you work in politics, it's a job, and most of what people say is really not relevant to the actual functioning of government. Right. But when I've worked in markets, what I've realized is that politics is always a distraction.
Yes.
When we engage in tribal thinking, we turn off the most sophisticated parts of our brains that are most necessary for navigating markets successfully, in my opinion. So I think one of the joy of markets is it can be a lens where we look at current events completely through an apolitical lens. And I think by doing that, looking at markets through an apolitical lens, of course, we have to be cognizant of political risks, right? Domestic ones and foreign ones. But I think the non-political lens is most helpful to looking at markets. So when you see people making political arguments about markets, think about how can I maybe get some alpha out of this? This
To your point on the jobs report, we've had this is the second miss, as you noticed. This is the lowest since December of 2020.
Right.
B of A writes this morning that we see a soft landing for the U.S. economy. And Carl Quintanilla from CNBC pointed out this morning that B of A was actually forecasting job losses this year, nearly 100,000 jobs losses this year. So the pivot from going from a hard landing to a soft landing is very hard. And even Mike Zaccardi, person that is great financial on Finchwood, he points out this morning, I'm sure that tasted like vinegar for them to say that we see a soft landing in the U.S. What changed within the last 6 to 12 months that we no longer see a recession?
Well, Nick, one important thing that a lot of people forget, right, is this was one of the most anticipated recessions in history, right? So let's just take all of the complex market analysis out for a second, and let's just picture me as owning a business a year ago, right? I own a simple business, a lemonade stand or a chocolate stand, something like that. And I'm thinking, hey, there's this recession coming. The consumer's getting really weak. They can't last much longer. So I'm going to cut costs. So I cut costs, but then demand either stays the same or increases. So what have I actually done? I've increased my margins, right? All the while being very afraid of a recession. And if demand is up, then, hey, not only not only am I making more, but geez, I need a little extra help to help with all this extra business. And all of a sudden, we have an expansion, not a recession, right? I think it's important to remember that most of the tools we use to predict recession or expansion, right, are based on correlations that were broken by COVID, right? So it's if you're surfing and you're surfing a normal wave set, that's easy for most surfers, but you can't really surf a tsunami, right? And that's the equivalent of what COVID was, right? It broke all we can't tell to what degree inflation is being driven by government policy versus just the massive simultaneous supply and demand shocks that were frankly the largest in human history, right? So it would actually be weirder if we could properly orient ourselves in this anomalous environment. And I think, Wall Street is a tribe like any other group, like any other industry. And I think it struggles when its core functions and its core indicators are less useful than usually, right? And that's why the analysts were all incorrect this year. And that's why my former boss, Tom Lee, was able to dance circles around them.
Yes, because he's now at 48.25 year end. And even yet, Ed Jardini of Jardini Research sees 5,400 next year. I think he's at 4,900 for this year. That leads to the Fed now to pivot to the Fed. They raised 25 basis points this month. We don't have an August meeting, but we have Jackson Hole, which is something everybody watches.
Right.
I recently pointed out this morning on Twitter that the Cleveland Fed, the inflation index, is showing an increase just a smidge in inflation for August. Now, B of A points out, and I like citing B of A a lot just because their notes are easy to understand. They say that there's a debate right now on Wall Street. Does the Fed hike in September or hike in November, skip in September, hike in November, and they're done? What are you thinking right now? I know we still have some data points we have to go. I think we get two CPI reports, one on Tuesday. We have another one in August before this meeting. 25 basis points, is that what you're expecting for September? Or do you think a pause in September, hike in November, and they're done?
So, Nick, I wrote right after the Fed pause that I expected either 0 more hikes or 1 more hike, one and done. So I believe that the current hiking cycle is done. I'm particularly encouraged by the jobs report this morning, right? I think that's a crucial piece. If the labor market can come in at this Goldilocks level while inflation is still falling, then the Fed doesn't need to hike. I worked in federal banking regulation for a couple years, and one of the things is that I'm positive of just from having worked with the Fed, right? When you've seen these people in person, you realize that they're human beings, and they're limited like any of the rest of us. And you have to think at a certain point they're not gonna. Number one, U.S. borrowing costs are so high that higher for longer is really curtailed by that. If you actually think about what that means, right? And U.S. borrowing levels, particularly given the recent downgrade, right?
Yes.
So higher for longer is we will stay higher, but I don't think the Fed needs to raise again, and I think that they don't want to needlessly risk exacerbating regional banking problems. And we want to start seeing some curve normalization for the regional banks and everything like that. So. And I think if you read between the lines on Powell's speaking since Jackson Hole, I think that there's building consensus within the FOMC that a soft landing is possible. And I think that those hawks that are still clinging to Phillips curve thinking are losing legitimacy by the day.
All right, let's pivot now because we had 2 major reports last night. And after hours last night, Chris, was crazy. We had so many stocks, so many companies reporting. All right, so Apple, they're down about 2.8%, 2.9% today. Overall, I thought the quarter was good. They beat on the top and bottom line. The one metric everybody is talking about that is because they missed on iPhone revenue. That's what a lot of research analysts are citing because they missed on the iPhone revenue. That almost brings in almost half of their revenue. That's something for the stock to be down on. But it is also important to note they're not part of the AI talk. They only mentioned AI 4 times. They gave a few bits of guidance. The CFO says that they expect Q4 to report $89.25 billion. That's slightly below Refinitiv estimates of 90.19 billion. What's your take on the Apple quarter?
Yes, Nick, I love Apple. It's it's a stock I've covered a lot over the years, and I think that there's a lot of hidden strength in this quarter. I'm absolutely a buyer on this weakness. I think, number one, if you're going to want to see one of two things, if you're going to want to see either services strength or services weakness, or hardware strength and hardware weakness, you're going to want to see the services strength. Services is what has driven the multiple expansion over the last 5 years, because that is diminishing the cyclicality in the stock, right? And that's part of what's given it its newfound sort of COVID safety feature. Part of that safety stock feature, when it used to be the best growth stock in the world, is pretty incredible, and that is because of the services. And services is firing on all cylinders. Number one. Number two, services, I think it's for the first time, I'd have to double check, but services is now over 50% of iPhone revenue. Number three, iPhone and hardware sales are very cyclical. And it looks like to me that we're in the middle of a trough. We're in the middle of a trough coming right up onto the iPhone 15 upgrade cycle. We have increasing economic strength in all the data pretty much. There's some weakness in smartphone sales. I would argue that that is a hangover from people overspending on Apple products. And I would say that a lot of this weakness is really just a hangover from COVID and bad comps. But the other thing is when you look at fiscal 24, there is a lot of growth currently forecast, right? So this is exactly when you want to buy a stock, right in the trough, when the crowd is still, the jury is still out on whether we're going to have recession, but the data is saying we're not. And, Apple is coming on to an upswing in their hardware cycle on unprecedented services strength. I think it's undisputably a buy, and I agree a lot with what Dan Ives has been saying. I think $4 trillion is within sight within a year.
Yes, I do. And Dan has been very optimistic about Apple and basically trying to say, hey, when this new iPhone launches, there's going to be a lot of people hurrying up to upgrade. Now, I have a 13 Pro Max. It's okay. The battery's a little shot already. That if we could pivot to Amazon, that was also a fantastic quarter. They beat on top, bottom line, all metrics, raising the guidance above expectations. Right. And Amazon is actually almost at a one-year high today. If you had to pick between Apple and Amazon, who would you pick?
I would pick Apple, and I think it's a bit of a contrarian take given the recent enthusiasm in Amazon. But this is why. I think there's a reason that Apple's been silent on AI. And I think it's frankly they're walking silently and carrying a big stick. If you look at their AI acquisitions and again the strength in services is going to be the engine to deploy AI, and that unprecedented services strength and accelerating services growth is a real nice opportunity to dovetail with Apple's AI efforts. And they have made a ton of AI acquisitions over the past decade. The other thing is I think that large language models, the thing that everybody is focusing on, they might actually be nearing their peak of commercial usefulness. And there's a large sandbox to play within AI. And I think Apple has a lot of data and a lot of other technologies and subgenres of machine learning that can really create some really dazzling experiences like the company's known for. So I would pick Apple.
Okay, because, there's these differences where Amazon and Apple, everybody's now in this industry of AI. And I know, yes, we're almost out of time, but AI, Chris, Apple really doesn't scream it like all these other companies. Amazon said it 35 times, Google said it 80 times, and Apple at 4 times. And Cook says generative AI. Do you think that Apple used that AI term last night just because they aren't really in the AI market, and so they used AI to try and push the stock, and it really didn't help?
I think that this is a little speculative, but I really do think that Apple as a company understands how to tell its story better than almost any company. And I think if you look at some of what Tim Cook has said, he explains why they don't have the strategy they want yet, right? That's the simple part of it. But another thing we saw last night is they've really upped R&D, and I think Apple deserves the benefit of the doubt on their return on invested capital. I mean, when you look at their return on invested capital minus their weighted average cost of capital, which is really a good proxy for a competitive moat. I mean, last time I checked it, it's a little dated, like a couple quarters, but last time I checked, they had a spread that was 3 times higher than their nearest competitor. Like we're talking like 45% compared to 15%. So to me, that dovetailing on that, we're in a cyclical trough, that we're probably about to see the payoff of a lot of R&D. And the fact that I think they're not telling their AI story because they want to tell it the right way. And when they do, you're going to see gains that you don't think are possible on a $3 trillion stock.
We're going to have to leave the conversation there. Chris, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for coming on. Happy Friday. We touched on a lot. We're going to have you back sometime soon before I head back to school, just to get your thoughts on more on the market.
Hey, Nick, you've been doing a great job. I always watch your covering. You're wise beyond your years in the truest compliment of that, in the truest sense of that compliment possible. So it's always a pleasure to speak with you. I always love hearing your thoughts on markets. Great questions, and thanks to your team.
Chris, thank you so much. Always appreciate it. I dropped your link down in the chat. He is a writer. Chris's writing is fantastic. I love reading it. Chris, thanks very much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Nick. Bye.
Thank you. All right. Christopher Robb, now an independent financial writer. Mitch, so many great topics we touched on, and so glad we had that time.
First up, I got a second. What Christopher said, and that definitely, Nick, you're the man, and I think everybody here sees it, right? And I think that this is what it's all about. Whether you're brand new to the market, Nick just started. When did you start really kind of doing more of the news and taking a step up? I know it probably hasn't been 20 years now.
Right. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. And I'm sure in the last year, you've really felt like you've gotten that big step up in understanding, because it's hard. It's hard to understand the markets. It's not an easy thing. And just reporting the news, it gets you a little bit better, right? You start staying with the flow of things. You know how the market's working. So shout out to you, Nick. Really good interview there. What was your high takeaways from that interview? What did you get from that interview, Nick?
I really thought I liked Chris's idea of talking a lot about the Fed. We touched on a lot of topics, but the Fed, they're either 0, no more hikes, or 1. He's long-term Apple. Chris is really that writer that he really dives into it, Mitch, and really can touch on the points. And I didn't even know when he says that he worked for the Obama administration. I didn't know that. So that was something new to me. So he actually put in more perspective than a lot of these others are, like TD Cowen has. I don't think a lot of these analysts have worked in what Chris has worked for. And so he worked under the Obama administration in a role that really could set the stage on this Fitch downgrade that we're still talking about days later. But other than that, Chris is really one of those journalists, one of those writers that nail it to the point. He doesn't beat around the bush. He just tells you like it is.
And that's very important, right? Like I talk about that all the time. I mean, one of the things that we need more and more of is trying to just be transparent with our viewers. I think that's another reason why you might see Chris on you might see Christopher Robb on independent financial writer. And I think that makes a huge difference. I love to find independent financial writers. So shout out to Rob. I'm going to have to start catching up with everything he does. I know he probably puts out through different publications. So Nick, I know that you threw up there his links and stuff. So definitely going to take a look at that. And I'm going to have to follow him myself. I love to have good journalists to follow, because at the end of the day, I need to do some reading myself, right? It's the only way I can keep up with it.
To your point, Mitch, it is very interesting if you write for one publication instead of trying to do multiple, just because your thoughts are your thoughts, and you cannot let another journalist or another editor say, hey, you can't put this in your own writing. It's because your thoughts mean something in the long run. And so it's always great to have different interviews and have Chris come on our show, just because this is a free range and you can express any topic, any way you do it. We're not going to silence you and mute you like other people are. And I just think it's wrong in the media just to silence someone else's thoughts. Even though it may be wrong, it's what they believe. It's because that's their interpretation of an important subject.
Definitely. And I think that that's just going to happen, right? I think at the end of the day, we all have to respect opinion because that's what comes first, right? And opinion is always going to have what? People kind of battling back at you and things like that. But I think that we have to be transparent. We have to be okay with people having different opinions, and then always try to do what? Rely on the facts, rely on the math, rely on the quantitative aspects of financials to kind of stay on top. Let's get back to the markets, guys. You guys smash the like. We're going to keep going, guys. We got the sports betting industry update coming up next, guys. That's coming at 11:30. We got about 7 minutes for that, but let's get back to the markets. Let's take a look here. What do the Qs do when they get to 376.61? They pull back, Nick, of course. Looks like the sideways rectangle rectangle pattern continues. We're just going to draw it out sideways and continue it. We drew this morning. Now we're continuing to do what? Just stay within the range. I think a big part of that is keeping an eye on stocks like Microsoft. Microsoft did start making a move above the VWAP. Now I'm looking for the move towards 334 and 335s. That could be the turnaround that we need to see Apple really take off that 185. And look, wouldn't you know it? Look, it did do that move to 186. We drew it, and there it is. A little bit later, you got the lift there. Now it's right back down towards 185. So it just shows you the chop that we're seeing today. We'll see if we get out of this chop. Like always, guys, it's going to be something to keep an eye out today. It's not going to be easy, but something that we can all just keep an eye out for. We'll see how it continues to lift there. Not looking too bad right now on the day. All right, guys, and stay tuned, of course. We're going to do our sports betting industry update coming up. I'm excited to get into more and more talk, of course, about the sports betting industry as we keep watch on the recent updates, right? I mean, it's been a fun thing to kind of keep an eye out for. Sports betting overall, I said it from the very start. We'd keep an eye out to see what would happen state by state as revenue increases. Could these companies get to the point where profitability makes sense? And what? Could be reaching there. So stay tuned, guys, for that. That's going to be some fun talk coming up here on, of course, none other than Benzinga. We always try to bring you guys a little bit of extra, right? And I've been trying to do more and more projects here, guys, to bring you guys the extras. Chris' interview with DraftKings coming up. That's going to be super interesting, right? DraftKings pulling back today, but will it get the lift? Who knows? Could have happened later today on our interview. We'll have to find out. Can we get something good from Jason Robbins? It'll be up to Chris Ketchy to get that, but I know I'll be watching. That's for sure.
I'll be watching, even though I'm done at noon. I'm still going to turn it on, you know.
Esports specialist. Actually, we'll talk a little bit about esports specialist, but we do have our esports specialist, of course, Zunaid. But we actually can talk some esports with Bets ETF. Roundhill, of course, it's sports betting and iGaming ETF. So that's one thing to keep in mind, right? This also has some iGaming exposure. So we could talk a little bit about some esports, iGaming, things like that. Bring it all in. Even maybe some political betting talk. Who knows? Come on over, guys. We're going to have some fun. Smash the like out there, guys. We got to keep this going right here, of course, on Benzinga.
Well, I was going to say, Mitch, to sports betting, maybe it's going to be AI sports betting soon in the near future.
You never know, right? We'll have to keep watch. Like always, guys, stay tuned, guys. We got a lot more for you guys right here on Benzinga. You don't got to go anywhere today. We're going to keep pushing. And we got a lot today. I'm excited to get into finally some sports betting talk. I don't know if you've ever done a little sports bet, Nick, or maybe between your friends.
No, we don't.
You see, I tried to get him. You see, I tried to get him.
He did. He tried to get me. It didn't work. Mitch, I know your tricks.
I hope you're not sports betting.
I know your tricks.
You know me, man. All right, let's go to, of course, some major stocks today, and then we'll take a look at the oil trade overall. I'm keeping an eye on it. We still haven't made that little push towards 163, but now we have 3 pushes up here, and I'm looking for the 9 EMA to continue the trend. Now give me that lift there towards 163 so I can take some profits. Got to take the money and run kind of thing, right? We'll see what happens on Chevron. Can he give me the lift there? And we'll take some profits on that one. Humana starting to go in the red here for me on the day. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. Of course, 185 will get me out. It's at 186 right now, but I'm in at 181. So no pressure there, right? CCJ was my loss on the day, but now it's starting to come back. And we'll see what happens on that one, right? Could have been that I was just a little early to the trade, and then now the action happens. That's how it can happen all the time out there, team. So smash the like out there. Man, you guys even saw my little tracker today. That's how long I've been active, baby. 4 hours, 34 minutes. I've been going ham today, and I'm not going to stop, guys. We're going to keep going. And sometimes the only way is up. I'll just give you a little warning. Watch your ears for a second. Yeah. I had to get a little pow action there to wake us up a little bit.
This show is out of control without Ryan Faloona.
I just had to wake us up a little bit, right? Get us ready. Keep us going here, guys. I don't know about you guys, but I just got myself a nice little fresh body armor. I need to get sponsored by these people, man.
Oh, I thought you were going to say coffee.
No. I went with the body armor. A little bit in the afternoons. I like to get a little electrolytes, a little vitamins in me, you know? This one's strawberry banana. So shout out to that one.
10.
All right. This one's a 7. I think the orange mango is like a 9. And then maybe you got the blueberry around the 8s. The strawberry banana is really good. But what I've learned is I can't drink too much of it. I get to this point where I'm like, okay, that's enough. But they're way better than Gatorades. I'll tell you that much.
Gatorade. Oh, I don't know about that. I like Gatorade over anything.
Nah, man. Have you had a good body armor before?
No, I don't even know what body armor is. I don't even
exactly. Go try one, my friend. Nick.
Never even saw it in the store before.
As a guy that's drank Gatorade for, let's say, probably about 20 years now, since I played baseball like all my life, I drink Gatorade a lot, right? I got to this point where I like a little fruit juice flavor versus like these fake artificial flavors that you get from Gatorade. But hey, to each his own.
Mitch, the baseballer on MLB, maybe.
You know me. That's why I'm gonna talk some sports betting. I do good in that action. You guys know I like the Rays. That's not a bad pick, right?
I mean, it is 11:30, so we should probably be over to sports betting.
Yeah, we're going to do that right now. I'm seeing the oil make that nice little lift there. I just wanted to wrap up on oil outlook. That's still looking great on the day, guys. I'll look to see if I can take some profits towards 163, and we'll look to see if the Qs continue in that hourly trend. Will it get above towards 377? A big watch Apple above 186. Microsoft to see if that comes back towards 334s, 335s. And of course, if Amazon can continue going, you see Amazon lifting the boats. That's not doing bad. We'll see if that can lift shop today, later on in the day. I think that Amazon, if it continues ripping to the upside, maybe shop could get the lift. We'll find out a little bit about that. And then I will not be having, I just want to let you guys know, start swing trade later today. We're going to do the sports betting industry, and that's probably going to wrap it up on the day. So we should be done around 12:30. Thank you, like always, Nick Brown, for joining me right here on, of course, live trading. Looking great, my friend, but I got to say the Dolphins look a little bit better. But, hey, that's just me. That's just me. It's always good to have you. Nice interview today. Christopher Robb, thank you for joining us today, and we'll have you back next week, Nick, as you're getting closer and closer to school. Stay safe out there, my friend.
Thank you, Mitch. Have a great weekend.
All right, guys, now to bring you guys over to the sports betting industry, I got to get over and catch Chris Ketchy over there. You guys come over, catch DraftKings, catch Bets ETF, learn how we're talking about the sports betting industry, what has transformed since our SPAC attack days. Of course, you're going to hear a little bit about that catalyst that significantly could impact the sports betting industry. And of course, developments. What are we looking at? What can we watch for? And a lot of great questions coming up on Benzinga's Sports Industry Outlook. It's always good to have you, Nick. Time to get you guys over to some sports betting action.